Small spaces require creativity and innovation as homeowners brainstorm ways to marry functionality and beauty in their quaint quarters. Today on Homeworthy, we're exploring the art of compact living in 5 homes, from a content creator's eclectic and collected studio to a family of 5 600 square foot New York City apartment. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hey Homeworthy, I'm Brittany, and today I'm showing you my apartment here on the Upper East Side, New York. Come on in. Hi, I'm Brittany Ball. I am a content creator and creative director, and we are here in my apartment on the Upper East Side in New York City. I would describe my home as pretty classic, but still really fun and timeless elements throughout. I live here with my 7-year-old son, James. I am from Georgia originally, and I have lived in New York in total around 6 years, and it's home now, so I am hopefully here for good. I ended up in New York because I had a dream that I could work in fashion and in the creative industry, and I thought there is nowhere better for me to be than New York City. And yeah, that's exactly what I did. When I was living at my old apartment a few blocks up, I was looking for an apartment with a fireplace and a doorman and a few other amenities that were non-negotiables for me at this point. And I go and I look at another unit in this building, and it was missing some very key things about it. Like, I really wanted a corner unit, so I had a lot of natural light because I film a lot inside my apartment. And I had a feeling to email the broker one night right before we were about to have to re-sign our old lease. And I said, is there anything open in this building coming up? And she said there was someone moving out the next day from this apartment, and I came and looked at it the day after they moved out. The holes are still in the wall. It was in rough shape, and I was like, girl, I will sign a lease right now. And I did, and we've been here. This is our 3rd year here. I immediately knew I wanted it, and I also could just see myself starting my real New York life here, if that makes sense. I knew I wanted to stay here as long as my son was through elementary school, and I just kind of saw us setting up shop here, and I have loved every second of it. I liked it because it was very natural. Natural wood, white walls, natural kitchen, and I don't know, I just saw so much potential here. And it's interesting, and why I'm so excited to share my apartment today is because it used to look totally different even a year and a half ago. So I'm excited to show the space in a way that makes total sense to me and my son. And I think my biggest focus when I started redoing this apartment was, how can I be honest with myself? How can I be honest with my son and honor the things he loves and honor the things I love, and still keep it very curated and aesthetically pleasing? Because I do share my apartment online, and I noticed as the last year and a half went on, as I started adding new pieces, adding a lot of antique pieces, which we'll be showing a lot today. I'm super excited about that. I noticed that there was a rhythm to putting this home together, in the sense that it took time. It took a year and a half to finish this place because I wanted it to be perfect. I didn't want it to feel rushed or forced, and every single thing in this apartment has meaning behind it. And I think that's what I'm the most proud of in this space, that when you walk into it, when I walk into it, I think this is my home. This is my son's home, and you will find a lot of that here today. I'm excited to share it. All right, we're gonna start in my living room, which is probably my favorite space in this whole apartment. I do have a wood-burning fireplace, which is probably one of the most amazing things in a New York City apartment to have, and I use it all the time. But I also love this mantle because there are added little hidden elements. Like, for example, I have friends over and these are playing cards, and then under this clock. This box is so cool, I got it from an antique store. But like dominoes, just fun little personality elements to the space has made me feel like my personality really comes out and really shows, which is amazing. One specific piece I really love in this room is my rug. I actually got it by accident, and it was parked outside my door for a couple of days because I wasn't sure if I wanted to unroll it and keep it, because I thought if I don't like it, I will have to return it. And a friend and I came over after dinner and she said, let's just roll it out and see what it looks like. And we rearranged the whole living room to roll this rug out at like 11:30 p.m. and then put it all together. And I thought, oh my God, this rug is perfect. It's perfect size, perfect shape. And I really love all the colors because they're super bold, but not intimidating. I think it grounds the space in a way, but it's funky too. So I love it. It actually came from Laloy Rugs, and it's in partnership with Rifle Paper Co. So really, really love this one. Also, this couch was an amazing piece. I got it from Sixpenny, and I like it because this is actually an ottoman, so you can kind of make your own there, which I like. And I wanted something super cozy because this is actually a TV. I know it's a really cool concept. It's a Samsung frame TV, so this is actually, I could turn it on, a TV, which is really, really cool. I love it because this couch is actually perfect to just rest and lay this way. And what's really funny is I actually used to have the couch this way and you couldn't see the TV. This is perfect. It's like, this is exactly how it was meant to be. And I love it because this couch is perfect, and you can also make your own. You could add more pieces to it if you want. So it's a good one. This is a good one. This beautiful hutch, seriously, so gorgeous. I found on Facebook Marketplace, there was a family, a couple in Jersey that was getting rid of it, and I thought, why? It is so perfect for less than $100, okay? And I go over to their house, I have a Yukon, and the woman comes and shows me in the garage, and I look at this thing, and she says, it's been in my family for over 100 years, but they were downsizing, and I said, I am so happy to take this because it is so stunning. And I love that there is a little wear in some of the little chips in the wood here because it's been loved for so many years. And if you see this video, I hope you know I still love this piece so much, and it is a cherished thing I will have forever, for sure. I have random camera equipment and stuff that I like to store in here, which is nice. And I can't show you all of it because it's pretty disorganized. But then mail, bits and stuff here, which is nice. But everything down here is functional, and all of the drawers work, which is so great. It's so beautiful, and it's in very great condition for it to be 100 years old. That's wild to me. But I love this little sitting chair. It's nice to have just to read and also chat. This is a very open floor plan, and I host a lot, so I really enjoy that added coziness element to the space. I find my inspiration from the people around me, but also this city and so many different artists. For example, Robertson, a piece I just had commissioned, which we'll see today. People like him that have these big, loud expressions, but I also find so much joy in Degas and Monet and all the classic elements too. So I find inspiration from literally everything, I think, and you'll be able to see that in this apartment for sure. One question I get asked all the time is actually where my curtains came from, and I got these off of Amazon pretty long time ago, but I like them because these are actually double paneled, so if you get them, I would say do 2 on each side for fullness, but it's great because they're super light reflecting, and it's beautiful because it bounces off of the cream in the walls just perfectly, which I really, really love. This chest is actually one of my favorite Housing Works finds. If you are a New Yorker, you will know about Housing Works. It's amazing. But I just got this fiddle as well. I'm feeling very strongly about it because it's humongous and gorgeous. Another thing I really love about this space is there are a lot of antiques mixed with items that I have recently purchased. For example, this clock is not an antique. I got it at Target, $100 maybe. And I love it because it does look super antique, but that's battery operated. So we're keeping it. And I like it because it also plays off of woods here. This I got at Housing Works and it's very old. I'm not even sure how old, but it's great because you can find a mix of things from all different time ranges. All throughout this space, you'll find little teeny pockets of memories. So for example, this is one of my best friends, Isabella, most gorgeous human ever. And then also books I've collected over the years. In fact, this one right here, I just got this morning from my mom. And I had to put it out because it's just a sweet little gift. And then I have fun, quirky bits throughout the space that just feel very me. To include a little Madeline book. I've been obsessed with Madeline since I was a little girl, but also Robertson, who is an artist I just had a huge piece commissioned by, if you want to look right here at this crazy amazing piece I just had done. It got dropped off the end of January. But this, when I gave him the concept, I said, I just want it to be my version of New York, my version of Uptown. And all throughout you can see Madeline having martinis at Bemelman's, which is amazing. My son and I are right here in Central Park. J.G. Mellon's, my favorite burger place. Like, this is such a special piece to me and probably my most cherished item in my apartment because it's absolutely perfect. This dining table, I was looking for something just like it and almost got something at Pottery Barn, and I happened to walk by a Housing Works and walked in and found this and thought, oh my God, I have to have it. And then these chairs I got from Cherish, they are 100 years old, which I think is so special. And I like little added notes like these are my initials and like a little fun chocolate bowl, just fun little things throughout the space that are unique and personal to me. And then there are other cute little things throughout. Like obviously, since I do enjoy hosting, I wanted to have fun bar things here that were just enjoyable. And obviously we're all collecting matchbooks, but these are places I've gone over the years and recently. So I love that there's just so much personality here, but it's still really girly and pretty and fun. This is just a fun little area, have crystals and fun little witchy books and stuff like that. It's just enjoyable and such a fun conversation starter when I have friends over. We love to talk about this stuff, so that's really enjoyable. My favorite part of my apartment is definitely my living room. That took me the longest, and it also is just the most invigorating space to me. I walk in every single day, I smile because I'm so excited to see it. I have a story behind quite literally almost every single thing here. So when I look at a picture or I see a salt dish or I hold a coffee mug even, there is a story behind that. And so for me, having a home that is my space and my son's space, there is no element of this entire apartment that is not our personal style and statement, which I think is incredible. We'll go into the kitchen now because this is equally a great little space, and I wanted it to be pretty but very functional because yes, this is a large city for a large kitchen for New York, but still a small space in general, so I want function as well. And I love that there are little knickknacks throughout. For example, I just got this, how cute, like a little breakfast plate for myself, very, very sweet. And I love having a lot of fun little teeny pops of color throughout to kind of play off of the natural whites and creams and woods in the space in general. I love that this is an open floor plan, an open concept, because I I'm not kidding when I say this is kind of the spot where all of my friends will gravitate towards. And I like it because it's so just user friendly. I can't explain it outside of that. Everyone's just here and gathered, and that is exactly what home means to me to begin with. It's just open and warm and cozy. And so I really love, I can think of so many nights where I've had dinner parties and friends over where everyone's just spilled out over the whole space, and it's magical. To be honest, I don't even know if I would ever want to live somewhere that had a closed off kitchen, because I need it to be open and inviting. So yeah, I love that element of this apartment. I wish I was more of a cook. I am really working on that side of myself. I love to bake so much. So I am always in here baking, and it's amazing because days where I have to do cookie dough and stuff, there is nothing more ideal than this counter space. My son and I have made countless pizzas on this counter, just covered in flour. Just so many good memories here. But as far as me cooking, it's on my bingo card for 2024. I'm gonna work on it. So I started almost a decade ago in more of the blogging space, and that was when social media was starting to really get moving and get traction. And I remember my parents saying, are you sure you want to go into this? And I knew that I had a voice, and I knew I had something to say. I just wasn't quite sure how to say it. And I definitely had to learn along the way and over the years how to find my voice and share it authentically and share things that meant the world to me. But over time and through my community and through my friends, I have found my voice online to where I can share it through every platform. But it took time and effort, and also I think what makes it most fun now is I know who I am, I know my space, I know my environment, and it's exciting to share it publicly. The longer I've been in this industry, the more I have found I have been so many different versions of myself. And the amazing part is I get to look back and see those versions. And I think it's really, really cool that as I have grown, the women in my community that follow along are also growing. And we have this level of camaraderie almost where we're all going through it together. We're all growing, and it's exciting to be able to be online and share that part of my life and connect in that way. I think that's the most important part to me. All right, now we are going to head to my hallway, so come with me. We will start right here. This is my gallery wall that I'm starting to build. And what I really, really, really like about this space is it's very, very contrasted. There's a lot of juxtaposition going on here. So there's a ballerina and florals and hearts, but also equestrian scenes. I really wanted to go for things that excited me. That was one element of my old apartment that I didn't love. There wasn't a lot of personality and not a lot of conversation starters. And for me, art is such a huge part of my life, and there is nowhere better to live than New York City for that. But because of that, I wanted my home to be exciting in the same sense. And a lot of that has to do with art. So I wanted a ballerina scene. And for example, this piece right here, I have asked every single person that has seen it what it means to them. And every person has said something different. And if you look at it, there are hearts that go across, and there's a flower that's blooming here. And the theories around it are very interesting, but I like it because that's exactly what I wanted, were things that started conversations. Like, let's get curious about this. What does this mean to you? But I also really enjoy a timeless, very just old school approach to art as well. So things with frames like this are very gorgeous and always really call out to me. So I like that there's some contrast. This is very old, but this is very young, and there's a bridge to be gapped there, and I'm happy to do it. But this piece is one of my all-time favorites. I'll have forever. I remember walking in, and I just talked to someone about wanting a print like this, but this was already custom framed in like an old Ralph Lauren frame, so I thought, jackpot. And I brought it home, and I get asked all the time, where did you get this framed? I'm like, I didn't. I got it at Housing Works, but it's gorgeous, in perfect condition. This mirror is actually a gift from my mother. It's an antique that I had really wanted from my childhood home, and she gave it to me 2 years ago, and I was so excited about that. And I also love little elements of the hallway, candlesticks and lots of little fillers here and there. I used to think my style was very classic and timeless, but the more I got to know myself as I've gotten older, I've found that I gravitate towards color, but still rooted in a natural, calming space. And so for me, I do think my style is classic, but I also think it's eclectic and really fun. And you'll find a lot of prints and florals and just life in the space. So it's really hard for me to narrow it to just one thing. So could I just say eclectic? I think I'll say eclectic. Naturally, I will gravitate towards pinks and reds. And I have found that in a home space, my eye goes to blues, whites, greens, but vibrance in those colors just because I want them to just grab you, and they also tell a story in a way. So I think I would say, yeah, those colors. Now let's head into my son's bedroom. I love this little space because it is so him. His personality is so sweet. And in fact, I want to show you a couple things in here that are my personal favorites. For example, this I Love New York print. He actually made this with his classmates in kindergarten. And every year we have this big school function where we have to auction off things. This was on the auction block, and there was no price too high for this because this is so precious, and each kid had to draw their favorite thing about New York City. And if you look here at the bottom, my son did the Natural History Museum because he was like obsessed with dinosaurs for a while. And I thought that was so cute because that's his little stick figure. And yeah, he'll have that forever. I think it's so precious and so New York. But I love this room because, again, this is his domain. He just has his little knickknacks everywhere, just like his mother. And for example, like a Prospect Park snow globe. And this we found at an antique store. He calls it a rock concert, which I think is very funny. But he just has little odds and ends that are his. He's also very obsessed with Keith Haring, so he's been putting all of these Keith Haring stickers on quite literally, I'm under his bunk bed right now, quite literally everywhere. He's actually obsessed with Keith Haring and loves art, loves Harry Potter. This is his space. He just does him. Him getting this bunk bed was actually a very big deal. We had talked about, it worked out very well. We had talked about getting a bunk bed over the summer, and my neighbor upstairs was getting rid of a bunk bed. And he was like, oh, it's a Pottery Barn bed, blah, blah, blah. The super came and installed it, put it up, and I was like, problem solved. Now James has a bunk bed. And it's perfect size, everything. So this is an old chest that we got from Kayo a couple years back, and I love this piece. And I like that it's weathered a little bit. I think it adds a lot of character to it, which I think is really special. This is a fun little wall of just some of his stuff, which I think is really precious. There's him and his dad, and then he's such a cute kid. Yeah, but this is so fun and very a New York little boy, which I think is really, really special. Growing up in Georgia, although I loved it for what it was, you have a different experience living here. Saturdays for us look like going to the Met and going to Central Park and seeing our friends for play dates and going and grabbing a slice down the street. Like, these are such little moments that make up a big life, and I often wonder sometimes when James looks back on his younger years, the stories he'll tell his friends about being a kid in New York City. And I think it's so special because we're both so happy here and have a life here that I think he really loves it. And I think New York City kids are just so special because they have access to the world in the sense of everyone's here. There's so much to see, so much culture, so much food, so much life, and a chance to know people from every walk of life. And that is just so incredible. I think it's incredible. Next, we are going in James's bathroom. It's a really cute little space, but a pretty spacious bathroom for New York, I think. These here are from Pottery Barn. Oh, these I got from Target several years ago, and I love them because I bought that shower curtain much later, and these look quite good together in my opinion. And I like this bathroom because it's timeless and cute, little pops of color. This little baby plant I just got. And I also really love this sailboat print here as well. It's massive and just very cute. I love it. Next, we are going to see my bedroom. Oh, but before we do that, take a look at this really quick. This might be truly my favorite little thing here, because they're just little notes James has been writing me lately and putting on the door. The sweetest thing in the world. And for example, he brought this to me for Valentine's Day. It's just like the sweetest thing in the world. I'm obsessed with that kid. Yeah, this door is a magnet, which is a very fun fact that we recently learned, and after that started just putting stuff all over, which I think is very cute. Welcome to my bedroom. I love this room because this is where all of my personal little things get to reside. But before we do that, we will talk about the air conditioner, okay? I see it, we all see it. There was nothing I could do about it because it's on a fire escape, and for safety, we must have this massive thing. Now that's out of the way, we can talk about the cute stuff. Okay, for starters, these adorable stuffies. I did say I was a huge fan of Madeline, and I am. Next, I have like little knickknacks all throughout. For example, look how cute these are. These are little love note boxes. You can put a little note in there. How cute is that? There are trinket boxes all throughout this space. A little picture of me and my sisters because I adore them, and I love looking at that picture in the morning because they're my best friends. I like that there's a very tall ceiling situation, so the drapes make the room feel bigger. And I like this bed because it's beautiful, but it's also very fluffy. I added 2 duvets. I learned that secret recently, and it's amazing because it adds so much fluffiness to the bed. And next, I'll show you this because I'm really obsessed with my dresser space. Huge perfume girl, okay? I love all of it. Overspill of matchboxes, and this fun little butterfly I got for my birthday last year from Baccarat. How cute is that? I'm obsessed with butterflies, and someone gave it to me. Very sweet. And yeah, I like it because there's no real rhyme or reason to this space. For example, if you turn, you'll see this duck that I just recently bought and put a plant in, which I think is very special. It makes no sense, but it makes sense to me, and I love it. And I added some old books that I bought years ago, and this is a little memory box that I just have when I want to look at a few little odds and ends, like postcards and stuff from little mementos. But I like that it's in this big box and it's beautiful, but have little memorabilia there. Now I would love to show you my bathroom because it is so fun and my favorite place to be. So if you come in here, you will see an adorable collection of girly trinkets. For example, this lipstick bowl. I remember when I first posted about this, everyone went crazy because they were like, a lipstick bowl? Where did this idea come from? I had just bought this random crystal bowl at this place called Junk in Brooklyn, and I knew I wanted it, but not sure for what. And then one day I thought, let's put some makeup in there and see what it looks like. And it just works. It's very Sofia Coppola to me. And all my makeup and stuff is like all throughout here. So this is just my domain. But what's really special is this is the other chest that I bought at Housing Works along with one in the living room. And I really love that this chest is so warm and plays off of the pink paint in the room. It's just very girly and exciting. I love coming in here and being in this space because it's just for girls. It's for girls. Another question I get asked all the time is the paint color of this room. It is by Little Green Paint Company and the shade is Blush. This room actually used to be green. I had it painted green a few years back, which was really pretty, but this is so much girlier to me. It's very Blair Waldorf in my mind, which I like. And what's really great about this color, it actually changes based off of the light. So in the early morning when there's a lot of light in here, it looks much lighter, but then it deepens as the day goes on. So it's really interesting. Right now it looks a little darker than it normally does, but I love it because it's so bold and it's just in your face and girly. So it's great. It's a great spot. What does home mean to me? Oh my gosh. The life inside of it. I think the most precious memories for me, even growing up, were inside the walls of my home. And to be able to be 31 and living in New York with my son and in creating this life for us inside these walls is priceless to me, and I think that's exactly what home means, just the love and life inside where you live.
Hey Homeworthy, I'm Heather.
And I'm Michael.
And welcome to our 600 square foot apartment in New York City. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hi, I'm Heather Summers. I am a content creator.
And I'm Michael Summers. I'm a law student at NYU.
And today we are in our 600 square foot apartment on the Upper West Side in New York City. We share the apartment with each other, obviously, and our 3 young daughters who are all ages 6 and under. We rented this apartment in 2021. We were living in Sacramento, California at the time, knowing we were going to be moving to New York for Michael to start going to school. And we're having to apartment hunt from California, knowing that we weren't going to be able to come to New York and physically see apartments. We were just kind of trusting Zillow and Street Easy to show us enough to make a decision and hope that it turned out okay. So yeah, we were shooting to live on the Upper West Side, and this apartment popped up, and we loved that it was across from the park, that it had 2 bedrooms. We were really excited about 2 bedrooms as we have 3 kids, and we're kind of gearing up to potentially have to live in a 1-bedroom apartment with a Murphy bed situation. So thankfully we didn't have to do that. Saw the apartment, there was a realtor that came by and FaceTimed us and showed us the apartment, and we just kind of went for it, hoping that it would work out. So we're really grateful that it did, that we're happy with the apartment, the way that it's set up, and the location is amazing. So we're super grateful.
Yeah, I think we prioritize location number 1, and then of course it being across from the park, as Heather said, is amazing. But the ability to find this place too, that ended up being such a great apartment for its own part, was really something we're excited about.
Moving to New York City was definitely a bit of a shock, not in a negative way, but just in a logistical way of like how we had to, make it work to live here with 3 kids. We lived in Sacramento for 3 years and had a house that was not big, but not as small as this. And so we definitely had to downsize quite a bit when we realized we were gonna have to be living in 600 square feet with 5 people. So yeah, that was definitely a bit of a process, but I think it was nice to sell a lot of our stuff and start fresh, because what we didn't want was to force a lot of our furniture and things we had in California into a really small space. We knew that we were going to have to be thoughtful about the furniture we chose and the way we went about setting up the apartment to make it work and make sense.
I mean, I think we've never really needed a large space. We've always appreciated small spaces, but once we got into it, we really had to figure out how to make things work. And I think for the most part, it's been a really great fit. Of course, it comes with its challenges, but that's part of the fun too. Welcome to our living room. This space in our apartment actually fulfills 3 different functions. It's our living room, like I mentioned, also our kitchen, as well as our dining space.
And this is definitely and quite obviously a very multi-purpose space. And so we've, like we have in all of the rooms in our apartment, we've had to be really thoughtful about how we can make sure everything is functional while also not sacrificing any sort of design elements that we want to incorporate. And this cabinet right here, I feel like is a really good example of that. This is an antique piece that we found on Facebook Marketplace locally, and we have gotten really lucky with Marketplace finds, as we love to shop secondhand and find vintage and really unique pieces. So I love this one because I feel like it's both beautiful and also serves a purpose. We use it for storage as we have coffee mugs and kind of spillover spices and things that don't fit in the kitchen. And then under here we've got some cookbooks and things, and then there's a drawer here as well that just kind of keeps all those little kitchen knickknacks and all those types of things here. I also love the height. I feel like it helps kind of fill in this space. It's kind of a small wall here between the hallway and the door that goes into the girls' room, and so I feel like the height, it just keeps it interesting over here in this corner, which could be a little bit random to fill.
And I would say the height is even helpful too. Like a little thing, we don't have many drawers, but we actually keep our silverware up here. But because it's above eye level, it just looks like a decorative basket rather than silverware.
This dresser we also found secondhand on Facebook Marketplace. I believe it's originally a restoration hardware dresser, so not an antique, but still secondhand, which again we love to do when we can. This one actually used to be in our bedroom, but we got a bigger piece to give us some more storage in there. And we were gonna sell this one. We had a smaller table here for a while, but we just loved this dresser so much, we didn't really want to part with it and wanted to hold on to it for future homes and things. And we just weren't really ready to say goodbye to it. So we put it here thinking that maybe it was gonna be too big. And it does take up quite a bit of space, but it has given us so much more storage here. We now use this to store like the kids' art supplies and things like that, crayons and all kinds of stuff. We homeschool, so we have lots of different things like that, school books and all kinds of stuff. So the storage that this has given us in this multi-purpose living, dining, homeschool, all of the above space has been amazing. One of my favorite things to do is to go to the New York flower market, and Michael always gives me a hard time because I tend to get flowers that are probably too big or he thinks are too big. But I love, especially in the springtime, these big branches. I love that they add height to this wall. And yes, again, stacked here on top of these magazines that give it some more height to fill this space going and to draw your eye upward. We also have our breaker box here, which is a bit of an eyesore. And so that has been a tricky thing to try to figure out how to work around. And so we added this framed picture of, actually, it's a little menu that we got from King Restaurant that's here in New York City. We went there for my 30th birthday. And so it has a bit of sentiment for us there to kind of try to hide the breaker box and do the best, that we could, trying to work with it being there and no options to move.
Our dining table, again, with some of the constraints of the space, we needed to find something that sat for people all the time. But luckily, actually, these chairs, which are great tuck under chairs, which provide more space. The one at our desk in our bedroom matches these four, and so we can bring a fifth in to all have family dinner. We really tried to prioritize, as busy as our schedule is, having dinner together, even if it's quick. Really, because we just want to set that rhythm for our daughters, and then it's a good time for all of us to be together. But the table itself, really the only shape that would allow all those purposes to be achieved was a circle. And so it really actually allows us to kind of navigate the small space, either into the kitchen or into the more living area, but still having a large enough surface area for family dinner.
These chairs are amazing because they just tuck in so nicely with this table. The chairs are actually from Sunday's Furniture. And like Michael mentioned, we have one serving as a desk chair. And it just flows really nicely between the desk and the table whenever we need to move it back and forth. And we spend tons of time at this table. The girls love to color and draw. We do lots of Play-Doh and work and obviously eating and all kinds of things here at the table. So it's central because it has to be, but we also love that it's central because of all the different ways that we use it. Okay, we're gonna move to the other side of the room, which is our living room space. Over here we have two really cozy chairs. We've actually done a couple different things over here. We had a big long couch for a time and a plant over here on the wall. And it's kind of been a bit of trial and error over here to figure out what makes the most sense and is the most comfortable and functional because we're in here all the time. So we opted for two really cozy chairs. This one we got secondhand again through Kayo, which is an amazing secondhand marketplace that we love. Also this cozy Jenny Kane blanket, and then I love this round Studio McGee pillow over here. I just feel like it breaks up kind of the rectangular shape of the chairs and the bookshelves and gives it kind of a little bit of interest that I really like. And then this chair over here is also from Kayo, but it is a 6-penny chair, and we love the round shape to kind of give it a little bit of, to mix it up a little bit over here, that it's a different shape, different color to give it a little bit of interest, along with this wall sconce that we got. I believe this was Facebook Marketplace as well. And we have quickly learned that the more things you can get up and off the floor, the better. And so where you can hang things on the wall, that has been huge for us. So a big thing has been sconces, to not have floor lamps taking up space on the floor, or even like a side table that you put a lamp on top of. Being able to put lamps on the wall or sconces has been a great way to save space.
Yeah, and we used to have one of those old lights up on the ceiling that I feel like is in every apartment, at least in New York City, that maybe aren't the most aesthetically pleasing. And so we found this company, it's called Tulip, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Tulip shades. Yeah, so these are actually amazing, and I think it's the most brilliant renter-friendly solution ever. I just think it's the best. So these Tulip shades, you attach them with command strips, and so there are no tools. I did it all by myself, and you just stick it up there, and it just goes right around the light fixture that's there. It's genius. So we absolutely love these. We have them in all the rooms of our apartment, and these have been an amazing renter-friendly solution.
I've always loved to read, and Heather does as well, and so we wanted to make sure we had space for all of our books. And one place we put many of our books, there's some in our bedroom as well, but many of them are here in the living room, and we use these burrow shelves, which are really great because they're actually quite modular. Like, this is 4 shelves put together, and we were able to kind of wrap them around the corner. And we really wanted our books to be displayed because number one, I mean, they're beautiful, and number two, I think they tell a story about me and Heather and our family and what we're enjoying reading, what we have enjoyed reading in the past, and then just our general interests. And so, if we have people over and if we host them here, often we'll find people looking at the bookshelf. And I think that's a really cool thing because it actually drives conversation and connection.
Yeah, it serves as art. So I like that it's kind of a bolder statement and sort of a focal point when you walk in from the front door through the hallway, entryway into here. It's kind of the first thing that your eye goes to, I think, because it wraps around the corner. It's just such a really cool and unique design feature that we've really enjoyed.
And we're fortunate too because it doesn't feel too heavy in a small room because we get such good light through this window, and the park's out there, and so it really helps with the room's overall balance.
We normally have toys everywhere. If you have kids in your life, you know that is inevitable. There are probably toys stuffed all under both of these chairs that you just can't see even right now. I like to joke with Michael that I stay home full time with the girls, and I'd like to joke with him that I feel like I just kind of clean in a circle all day, because with it being so small, you have to keep things up off the floor. You can't walk around. And so we have to, it's that balance between not wanting to manage the girls too much or manage their play and just like let them be and let them make messes, while also not going crazy, not being able to walk to the bathroom or into the other room. So it's definitely messy. We cleaned it up for you guys. We'll see how long it stays like this the rest of the day.
But we also make choices with our daughter's toys and what they play with. We try to really curate those things as well. And so
yeah, we don't have a lot of toys.
We don't have a lot of, just stuff. I mean, I think the things that they play with are things that are really special to them and sentimental, and they play with, for a while. More like imaginative play, situations. And so they'll move from room to room, and then we'll kind of clean up after them.
As they go.
Yeah. The building we live in is a pre-war walk-up. And in terms of the architectural style, I'd say it's fairly classic for New York City.
Yeah.
It fits the mold of many of the, mid-rise structures in Manhattan. What I think I love most is what the apartment enables. And I think for a lot of people looking at living in a 600 square foot apartment with 3 young daughters, and then of course us two with the busy schedule we have, they might see that as full of downside. But for me, in truth, I think this apartment enables a lot of closeness and intimacy between our family. There isn't really anywhere else to go when we're inside. Of course, we spend a lot of time in the city, but this apartment, I think breeds a lot of closeness between me and Heather, between us and our kids, between each of our daughters amongst themselves. And so that's my favorite thing about the apartment. And I think Heather has done a really good job of designing it so that it's a place we want to be, even though it's small. It feels very curated, and we're at home here. It doesn't feel, overwhelming. And so in that way, I think the choices that we have made in this apartment, facilitate really what it's all about, which is the closeness between the members of our family.
All right, now we're gonna make our way into the kitchen. This is it right here. It is obviously not very spacious, so that has taken some figuring out how to make it work as two people who love to cook. We have girls that love to help us cook, and we really enjoy, cooking together as a family dinners, and prioritizing that. So we have had to learn how to make this space as functional as possible, because it's something we use all the time. So one of the coolest things I think in the kitchen is this Evermill spice rack that we have mounted here on the wall. It's amazing for space saving. I mean, it's not taking up a drawer or a cabinet or counter space, as we have hardly any counter space. So having it hanging on the wall has been definitely a lifesaver on that front too. And another great space-saving piece that we have here is this Yamazaki storage crate. It fits just right in between this kind of awkward space we have here between the oven and the wall. And it's on wheels, so you just kind of roll it out, and we keep our spices here, which is really great and handy as they're right next to you when you're cooking. Something else that we have had ever since we moved in that I think has been huge in terms of figuring out counter space and how to maximize it is this cover that we got just on Amazon for our stovetop. And so when we're not cooking, obviously it sits here. We can use it as a cutting board. We can use it as a place to prep dinner or what have you, a place to leave dishes to dry because we don't have a dishwasher. We have a mat that we lay out, so we just hand wash our dishes and let them dry here. So having this to cover our stovetop is a small thing, but it has been really amazing to help us make our kitchen be even more functional and give us a little more space. We also have this hanging basket here that we use to store produce. So this usually has bananas in it, but our girls are very avid banana eaters, and so we don't have any bananas at the moment. But yes, we use this to save space. We have a lot of mouths to feed. We eat a lot of fruit and, like I said, do a lot of cooking. So we use this for produce. So this, has anything in it from lemons to bananas to apples. It's a great way to keep things off of the counter. Also, our fridge is really small, and so sometimes we can't fit all of our food in the fridge, or fruit and things like that. So it's just another great place to put produce. We have a lamp up here on top of the fridge, as well as our air fryer, which we use all the time. Just a way to take advantage of this space on top of our fridge. It's a pretty small fridge, and so utilizing the space on top of it, I mean, you've got quite a bit of space here. So being able to utilize it in this way, I think, has been really helpful. Hanging up our cutting boards, and then yes, getting a little more light in here as our kitchen is a little tucked away from where the window is in here. Having a couple of lamps in here in the kitchen has been really, really helpful as we don't get a lot of light. So we have this one. We also have this one over here in the corner.
Yeah, and I would just say about the fridge, I mean, it's a space to, like many people do, display their kids' artwork. And so it's kind of fun because we don't have much space, and so there's not a ton of areas to collect, what the girls do, but the girls kind of contribute to the aesthetic with all that they've done here. So in our house, Heather and I actually share the cooking. There'll be some evenings that she takes the lead. There'll be some evenings that I take the lead. I think it really kind of just depends on what we enjoy more, or sometimes our schedules might dictate, a certain night that one of us cooks. But I really love to cook any, meat or anything of that sort. It's been a little bit difficult to find different ways to cook, different items, because I love cooking outside on a grill or a barbecue, but we don't have that here. And so experimenting with different methods on the stovetop or in the oven or even with the air fryer has been exciting. And then I think, Heather really takes the lead. She loves to cook, pastas and vegetables and salad and things of that nature. And so those are the things that I might cook, but I definitely don't get as excited about.
Yeah, we leave the steak to Michael. He's cooks a mean steak. So over here we have actually one of my favorite vases that we have in the apartment. It's by a girl named Ann Weber Callahan who lives here in New York. I think she's Brooklyn based. And I love the shape. I feel like it adds a lot of interest over here. And having kind of design features and not just functional things in the kitchen is important. I like when there are things like a lamp or flowers or something kind of beautiful in the kitchen, not just appliances and spices and things. So love that vase there in the corner, as well as these decorative bowls that we have hanging here that I found on Etsy. They're vintage, and I just think the fish are really fun. Some of our favorite cookbooks over there, and then we have this wall mount knife rack here that's magnetic another way to get things up and off the counter. This is possibly my favorite thing in the entire apartment because it keeps me caffeinated, which is really important. This is our Terra Cafe espresso machine, and we absolutely love it. It's takes up a lot of space on the countertop, but that is a-okay because we use it all the time, probably too much. Actually, right now I have a couple different candles going in here. I have a candle here on the table and then one here in the corner. The scent is Cashmere. It's from 5th and Madison, which is here in New York, and it's one of my favorite candles. They're actually really affordable and smell amazing. Just really clean and light, nothing too intense, just really clean and fresh, which I like, especially in here in the living space. So our microwave is tucked away here in this corner cabinet that we have. This area is quite difficult to keep organized, as is most, as are most of the cabinets in here, just because there are so few and we have so many things to put in them. So there have been a lot of avalanches of, me opening something and it's overstuffed and things fall out. That's been exciting. But this corner cabinet has served us well for a place to put our microwave. So we have that here, as well as our pots and pans and things, kind of stacked bigger bowls for entertaining and things like that up here. And then that way it's not taking up space on the counters. So we moved into this apartment knowing that it was going to be for at least 3 years. What brought us to New York was Michael going to school, and he's in school for 3 years, so we knew that it was going to be for 3 years at the very least. That being said, we never planned for it to be a place that we live forever. We never saw it as that. We have never made some sort of commitment that we're gonna live super small as a family or anything like that. So we won't be living in this apartment forever. That being said, I think that what we have experienced as a family, I mean, kind of like what Michael was saying earlier, just about the best part about living here and what we've been able to experience just as a family unit. I mean, it's just been really invaluable, and I think it'll definitely be something that we carry with us, just in terms of, the thoughtfulness that it requires to live in a small space, and just the dynamics between us and wanting to share, common spaces and things in future homes and places that we live, no matter what the size is moving forward. I feel like it's kind of like a mindset that we'll try to carry forward with us in a new home. As far as decorating goes, I tend to like to change things and rearrange and kind of keep it ebbing and flowing. And so I feel like we have just tried to decorate it thoughtfully. Obviously, function has had to be number one in terms of, dual purpose items and storage, space-saving things and all those types of things. So I feel like we've had to be especially thoughtful with the way that we've decorated it, both on the functionality front, and then we love, we want it to be aesthetically pleasing and have the vibe that we want it to have for our family. We want it to be really casual and livable, and nothing's too precious, but thoughtfully put together.
From my view, I'd say it's simple, but at the same time, we want it to feel warm. I mean, again, being in a smaller space, everything, we can't have complex, ornate pieces. I think we would feel like it would, dominate any room in this apartment. But we still want our simple pieces to feel warm. And so I'd say that's how Heather has kind of, put everything together.
All right, before we head into the bedroom, we're gonna stop in the hallway and show you a couple of special things that we have here. Michael and I love to collect coffee table books, and so this has been a growing stack over the years. I love that coffee table books serve as both decor, and also here they kind of serve as a table, which is a great way to make the most of something when you have little space. All of these books are special in some way, but this one right here, the book about Stephen Sondheim, is really sentimental. I feel like it kind of speaks to our experience here in New York too. We love to go see shows. I am a huge Broadway fan, and we've enjoyed seeing a lot of shows together since we've been here in New York. And Michael bought me that book about Stephen Sondheim after we saw Merrily We Roll Along on Broadway, which is a Sondheim show. So it's just really sweet and sentimental, and just reminds me of that every time I see it.
Yeah, and here also going into the bedroom is a piece that I've pretty much demanded we have somewhere. I kind of said when we moved here, I don't really mind where it goes, but I just want it up. And it's The Return of the Prodigal Son by Rembrandt. It actually hangs in St. Petersburg, so the best we could do is a replica, of course, although having the real thing would be amazing. But it's just a piece really important to me, and it's a special biblical story that we wanted to have up. And so it's a great thing to actually have in an area of the home. Even though we don't congregate here, we see it. So Heather is certainly the creative driver and the person who has set the direction for our home. But I do have a say on certain things, and I'd say the overall layout. Like there's things that I can perhaps veto, and Heather's also really good about coming to me and asking, hey, what do you think about this? What do you feel about a piece here or there? For me, my favorite artistic touch is actually all of our books. And so that'd be something where I have pretty much refused to get rid of them. I don't want to box them away.
And I have never wanted to get rid of
No,
books.
no, of course not. But
that would be
if that were to come up, I think that'd be a situation that I would have a lot of say in, because to me the books kind of tell a story about where you've been in your life, both intellectually and relationally, and even different places. And so that's an example of an area that I think I've had a decent amount of say. But otherwise, it's definitely a team effort. I think Heather is certainly the captain, and perhaps I'm a little bit lower on the chain, but I definitely am able to weigh in.
He has a good sense of style and a good sense of what looks good and what doesn't, and you definitely have opinions, and it's and I appreciate your involvement, and I feel like we have a good dynamic when it comes to making decisions about the apartment and things. There have been quite a few things though that I have suggested, and I tell him, I promise this will look good, and it takes trying it to convince him. He's not quite so sure, but it always ends up being something that you like more. He'll be like, you're right, this was a good call. So anyway,
so we both went to Heather and I met in undergrad in Texas. We both went to Baylor, and Heather's a year older than I, and so we were initially kind of mutual friends, and then I invited her to lunch, knowing that that could either stay as friends or perhaps go further. And luckily for me, it ended up turning into marriage and kids.
yeah.
It'll be 9 years in October. Now we can head on into the bedroom.
All right, this is the master bedroom, if you will, even though it is exactly the same size as the girls' room. This room has changed a lot over the last 2 or 3 years that we've been here. We've had it configured a lot of different ways, but I think that we are the most happy with this setup. I think we've finally figured out how to make the most of this space without it feeling cluttered, and just how to configure everything. So we're super happy about the way that it has come together over the last few months as we've made some changes. We'll start with this bed because this particular bed is amazing for 2 reasons. One, it's beautiful. I love the boucle fabric here, it has a headboard that you can't really see, but it's all just this beautiful boucle fabric. And secondly, it lifts up, and there's storage actually underneath the mattress. So this bed is from Sunday's Furniture, and the storage that it has provided us has been amazing. I mean, we need all the storage that we can get, and this bed has been incredible. You just lift it up, and then it actually stays open all by itself, so you can get out what you need or put away things and then just put it down, and then that's it. So I love that you don't have things just stuffed under your bed, and we can actually be thoughtful about the way that we organize what's under there. So huge fan of this bed for sure. So these sconces on the wall over here are actually a pretty new addition to our room, and we're super happy with how they turned out. These are from Ravenhill Studio, and I just love the warmth that they add, and I love the shape of the shade. I think it's just really unique, and it's just kind of a cool design feature over here. Like I said, in the living room, we're huge fans of sconces where we can do them because you're not taking up precious table space or floor space, and so the sconces over here are perfect. We also just moved our bed. It used to be in the center here, centered on the window, but we found that we weren't quite sure what to do with kind of the awkward space over here on this side of the bed, and we just recently decided to scoot it all the way to the corner and kind of take advantage of this L shape that it creates here, which has been one of the best changes that we've made in this room. It's given us tons of space over here. And then also we watch movies in here and kind of treat it as a day bed, or the girls will come and read books in here. So since we don't have a large couch in the living room, this has kind of served as like a big sofa daybed kind of situation, which has been really amazing. So we just got these pillows actually from Zara Home and used them to just kind of accentuate this L shape here and tie it all together.
And over here is a desk we have in the corner of our bedroom. It's Sundays as well. And so I spend a lot of my time here, mainly in the evenings, but sometimes the morning as well, getting my work done for school. I really enjoy not just its aesthetic and the simple lines of it, but I also enjoy it's actually close to the bed, because a lot of times in the evenings, Heather will be in here working, or she'll be just hanging out, and I'll be here working and I can still focus on what I'm doing, but it still feels like we're spending time together. And so it's actually been a better thing than I imagined, having a desk in our bedroom than I thought. I was a little bit skeptical. I had a home office back in California, but coming here, I was a little bit skeptical of how a desk in our bedroom would work. But so far, because I think of the way it's all laid out, it's been a great thing. Another thing about working here that I really enjoy as well is the artwork. And this is actually Heather's artwork. And so it shows that not only does Heather have talents as a mother and as an interior designer, but she's also quite the artist. And so I love to see something that we don't have much in our home, either pictures of ourselves or things that we have made. But this is one piece we do have that comes straight from Heather. And it's really great to have something that has beauty, but also the sentimental value attached to it.
Over here, we have this antique armoire that I am so in love with. I still can't believe that we scored it. We got it on Facebook Marketplace for us. It was a steal. I can't believe that we found it. We just saw it right when it went up and snatched it up, and we couldn't love it more. It actually ended up being a Christmas gift from my parents, which feels special as they live in Texas and we don't get to see them a whole lot. So it feels like something that reminds us of them, which is really sweet. But this has given us so much storage. We actually had the dresser that's now in the living room used to be here. And so it was just this portion. So we had 6 drawers total, and that was it. Having this, we have that plus this whole hutch area, which doubles our storage in here. It's been amazing to have all the extra space, and we've definitely needed it. We have some books stacked up there because we have books all over the place, and there is some space up there that we could put them, which is helpful. And then you can see that we have this really fancy rubber band here on the handles. As I mentioned, this is a really old piece, and the cabinet doors don't actually close all the way. So for now, we have a rubber band there to do the job. I don't know if we'll ever change that or fix it. We might just leave it like that. And then here we have this little mini lamp. This is also from Zara Home, and I love the size of it. I felt like we needed some sort of light source over here in this corner to kind of balance out the lamp on the desk, and then the sconces over here, and I feel like the size of this lamp is perfect. It just sits here so nicely, and then also when you open these doors, it doesn't get in the way of opening the doors because it's not too big, which is great. The plates that we have here on the wall are from an artist, and her shop is called Mellow, and she is based in here locally in New York City. I think her studio is in the East Village or possibly the Lower East Side. I can't remember which, but she's local to New York. We stumbled upon her shop actually when we were just out kind of wandering around and loved her work. I was looking for something to hang here at the time, and she was selling these plates already mounted, so it just kind of felt like it was meant to be. So we snatched them up right away. I love the shape and the swirls, kind of the kind of whimsical vibe that it gives with a lot of just like clean lines and neutral colors. I feel like it just adds some really nice interest to our room. So super happy with those, and love that we were able to buy them from a local artist. That feels really special. Here we have this vase / bowl. It could be kind of anything you want it to be. I choose to use it as a vase because I think it looks beautiful with flowers in it. This is from Ink and Porcelain, and I love the wavy shape of it. I feel like it ties in really nicely with the plates that we have on the wall. Have it stacked on top of this Paul Klee book that is one of my favorites. And we actually have a few pages ripped out of this book framed over here above the bed to kind of tie it all in. I love the color that it gives over there, but it's still really neutral. I like that it's kind of a different tone. With the black frames, I feel like it just kind of pulls this whole area together. So the artwork over here is actually just a few of my favorite pages out of this book. This table we also found on Marketplace. It was $20, I think. Previously, the person I think was using it as a plant stand or something, but we just needed something small. I was looking for something that was wood, but a different tone, not the same tone as this armoire here, and I like the contrast, but also the different, wood tones together. I feel like it just works really well, keeps it really warm in here, which I really like. Last but certainly not least, we have another tulip light on the ceiling. Again, I think these are just the most brilliant thing ever, and these lights have totally changed the look of all the rooms that we have them in. So we have these, like I said, in every room, and here's another example of that. We love tulip.
For me, with my school schedule, sometimes it can be challenging to find space, quiet space to work. Again, in our bedroom, it's quite, spacious. We can have a bed and a desk, but even still, there's 4 other people not so far away. And so for me, it's tough to balance the work and life portion in terms of being able to focus on my studies, but then, have my whole family right here too. And so sometimes that's been challenging, but I think we figured out how to make it work. And luckily it's forced us to set, good boundaries with our kids if they know kind of, hey, daddy's working or mom's working, and I need to be able to focus on those things, and they're, for the most part, pretty good about that.
It's definitely challenging every day for different reasons and on a lot of different fronts. I mean, logistically, it's tricky to figure out storage, and we maybe have it all set up just right and everything's put away and has a place, and then maybe we get maybe it's a birthday or something and kids get birthday gifts, or it's Christmas or something like that, or new things come in for whatever reason, and so there's not just a place to put a new thing. You're constantly having to edit and reorganize and figure out what makes sense with whatever you have on hand or whatever it is that you need to, find a place for. So that can get a little tiring at times, just feeling like you're always having to reorganize and be really particular about how you arrange something or how you put things away. And then, it's just as kids get older and bigger, their needs change. And so it's also a lot of figuring out how to make their bedroom work for them, how to help with dynamics between the kids and small space, and just navigating kind of emotionally how that can be for them sometimes. So it definitely is, it's a lot of effort to make it possible. All right, welcome to all of our favorite room in the apartment. This is the girls' room. So these are my girls. Can you say hi?
Hi.
Hi. Yes, and we all love this room for so many reasons. They are the only ones that have 2 windows in their room, so they get the best light in here, even on the cloudiest of days. It's really lovely to sit in here and look out their big windows and enjoy the natural light. They also have this nice corner window. We're actually on a corner unit, and so we get this nice corner window, which I just love. We like to sit out here and watch for taxis and dogs and double-decker buses and all kinds of fun stuff that we get to see out the windows here.
And kitties.
And kitties too. So this is our bookshelf. This was another Facebook Marketplace find. It was pink actually when we bought it, but I painted it to just kind of give it a little bit of new life and to blend in, you think, a little bit too. Yeah, that makes sense too. So yeah, this is where we keep books. The girls love to read, and so we needed a place obviously to put all their books. So we have books here and books down here. This drawer we keep things like hair ties and hair clips and all those kinds of fun things too. So this music box that we have up here is actually a music box of New York City. We got it for them for Christmas this past year as kind of a way to commemorate our time here, and they love it. When you turn the music box, the little taxi ferry actually goes around. It's really sweet. So that's something that the girls really love.
Here there is some reading books that you can read to practice reading, and there's some other books that you can read for fun, and Barbies and tiaras. They're all different colors. And then there is some trucks and horses, and a school bus, Yoda, and a clock that we use for nighttime. It gives us a sound machine and some light color.
Excellent, babe.
Thank you.
And thank you.
And some clothes.
And some clothes, of course. Yes. This is kind of a new addition to the girls' room, as they had sliding doors. Sure. You want to explain?
We had sliding doors right here, but they kept falling off, so we took them off all the way. And then we we got a curtain rod, and then we got a curtain just for reading. We used to have a nook in here, but now Mom looks like she like separated it around. And well, that's it.
That's it. I actually found this. This is a vintage tablecloth that I found on Etsy. I just thought it was beautiful, and the size was perfect. Just got a tension rod and then some little clips, hooks, yep, and then just put it right up there. It was a really easy project, and I love what this does. Yeah, I love what this design has added to their room. I just think it's really beautiful. Our goal with their room is just that it would feel like them and be things that they love and decorations they're excited about.
And what everybody loves in the family.
And yeah, we want it to be what everybody loves in the family. We want their room to feel connected to all the other rooms in the apartment, but we want them to also be really excited about it, and you know, it's theirs, so we want it to feel like them. So really happy with how this tablecloth worked out. Georgie, should we tell them about the princess chair?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, where is the princess chair? Who sits there?
Me.
'Cause you're a princess?
No.
No, this is what we call it. We call it the princess chair. This was a Facebook marketplace find also, just here in our neighborhood. And I believe it is like an authentic Victorian chair is what, oh, you okay? Is what the owner told me. But I just loved that it is actually a child's chair. It's their size, and I just think it's really lovely in this corner. They really like to sit here and read and play. And
It is itchy though on the bottom right here.
It's itchy on the bottom. Yep. Yeah, we really enjoy sitting here. This is a light that we got from a shop called Ramble Interiors. I actually found it on Etsy. I believe it's made out of a vintage tablecloth, which I thought was really neat. And I love the floral embroidery. I just thought it was really sweet in the girls' room. I love that it's roughly...
Light bulb?
What?
Why is there a light bulb?
Because it's a light. You can't have a light without a light bulb.
Oh.
And so I think it's just a really nice kind of anchor for this corner space paired with the chair. I just think it's a really sweet little nook. Over here we have the girls' beds. This is a setup that we put in probably about 6 months ago or so, maybe a little bit longer. It hasn't been this way always. When we moved to New York, James, our youngest, was just 6 months old, so we had a crib and then we had bunk beds. And then eventually, as James got older and started walking, we just needed more floor space, and this room has changed a lot just as the girls have grown. But this setup has been really fun for them. It feels like a little dorm room. I mean, they just get to have a sleepover every night together, and they love it. So these beds are from Masonette. They are the Jenny Lind toddler beds. Their bedding is from Green Row, which I love the kind of crochet edging. And they have their little stuffed animals there that they sleep with at night. Above their bed, we have this vintage artwork that was also a Facebook Marketplace find. I think it was like $25, and it's huge. I couldn't believe what it was for the price, but I just love the colors. I love the neutral color that it adds in here. And I also love that it's just kind of fun and whimsical. Love the polka dots, and I just think everything about it just fits in really well with their room. I also like the black and brown tones kind of paired with all the florals and kind of more feminine feel. I think it's just a really nice contrast. Their wall sconces that we have here, I actually made myself. It's a frame that I bought off of Amazon, and then I used an old pillowcase to just kind of sew a little cover or a little like shade around it. To turn them on, you just use this little remote. And there you go. It just gives it a little something. I like that it frames the art and their beds, and I feel like it just kind of completes this little area here. I also like the battery feature just for their room, because you don't have the cords hanging down. You don't have cords near the girls' beds or anybody playing with them in a way that's unsafe. So I think that this is a really good solution for a kid's room. Above their artwork, we have some storage for all their stuffed animals. Any way that we can go up and put things on the wall has been huge, living in such a small space, especially in the girls' room, as they have toys and all these different things to figure out where to put them. So this is actually just a curtain rod that we got on Amazon, and we used it to store stuffed animals. So I think it's been a really good, affordable solution to get things up off the floor. It's worked really well. This wall here in the girls' room, it's kind of an awkward space. It's something that you can see from the living space. It's always visible, and we like to keep their door as open as possible just to keep their little walkway here as clear as we can. So we put a basket of blocks here just because it helps hold the door open and it kind of gives something to this little corner. And then put up a couple of pieces of art here that are still fun and tie in with the girls' room, but they're also neutral and match really well with everything that's in the main living space. So this little shell print was actually just a postcard that we got from a store. I just love the little seashells. The girls love seashells, so thought that was really sweet in their room. And then this is a vintage cross-stitch piece that I found also on Etsy. I love that it has hearts and birds and a horse and all kinds of fun little things. It feels like a, kind of whimsical and fun for a kid's room, while still tying in with the rest of the apartment really well. I feel like the best way to add soul to a space is definitely vintage. And I love to shop secondhand. We love finding unique things, maybe if we're traveling or, things that maybe remind us of a place that we've been or something that we've done. We love to incorporate those types of things into our space. But yeah, I feel like there's just nothing like vintage in a home, and we have been really spoiled with the vintage that we've been able to find, and even just the secondhand, not necessarily vintage, things that we found living in New York. I mean, it's just endless, the things that you can find here. So it's been really fun to find special things that are either secondhand or vintage, antique, to bring into our home to help it be unique and just have a lot of soul. The word home for me means family. I mean, I feel like Michael said, just the experience that we've had as a family in this particular home has been amazing. And we've lived in a few different places ever since we got married and started growing our family. And so we have not had roots anywhere for longer than kind of 3-year stints, just as life would have it. And so home for me really is just family. I mean, I feel like we have a really good relationship as a family of 5, as well as really good, strong individual relationships with each other and our kids, and we're so grateful for that. And so I think that home, is going to be anywhere that we're together. If that might sound cheesy, but it's true. It's home's just being together and maintaining a close, tight-knit family dynamic and relationship.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add is just being in a space that facilitates those relationships, and being somewhere that you are excited to be. I think other than that, there's not much else you could ask for.
Yeah.
Hello, Homeworthy. It's me, John. Welcome to my Brooklyn apartment. Come on in. I want to show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hello, I'm John Dittrich. I am a prop stylist based in New York City. I work primarily in commercial photography for home decor and lifestyle brands. We are in Brooklyn in Carroll Gardens in my apartment that I've lived for the past 2.5 years. It's my first kind of like big boy apartment that I live in on my own. And the first few years I was in New York, I was bopping around between roommates and kind of more impermanent stuff. Didn't have a lot of belongings, didn't have a lot of furniture. And so when I moved in here, I was finally ready to nest and make a home and really invest in my space. I did not immediately know that this was the one, that this apartment was the right one for me. When I first walked in, I was a little confused. The layout is a little funky. The broker brought me into what became my bedroom, and he said, this is the living room, which kind of makes sense because it's the room that's closest to the kitchen. The whole thing is like a long railroad. And I was like, oh, I don't know about this living room. It's a little small. I want something that felt a little more spacious that I could host people in. So he showed me the one side of the apartment, and then we came into this room where we are now, which he said, this is the bedroom. And I was like, oh, okay. And whoever had lived here before had left like a big king-size bed. But I was like, oh, this room is so, it's so nice and big and open, and it has this fireplace, and it has a little alcove. It could be a dining room. So I started to kind of imagine switching things up, layout-wise, what I could do with the space. It also had this really kind of dingy butter yellow color, the whole entire apartment, which made it, I think, a little hard at first to imagine what I could do with it. But the more time that I spent in the space, I could visualize what I could do, and I started to get excited about, oh yeah, I could like rearrange it this way, I could paint this, I could do that. And finally I was like, yeah, this is the one. I was going back and forth on it a little bit because it had most of the things that ticked my boxes. But the layout was a little funky, I wasn't sure. And I had a friend that I sent a video to, and she said, John, you have to take this apartment. Like, you can't say no to this one, you can't lose it. So I definitely thank her because it has, pretty much everything I was looking for. Welcome to my living room. This is kind of the main hangout spot. So when I was decorating, this was sort of the most important piece. I wanted this room to feel like open and airy, so I had this kind of lighter paint color. I really love in design like a kind of neutral base, but then adding some visual interest with color and pattern on top of it. So I have kind of this neutral vibe going on with like the couch and the walls, but then I have like patterned pillows and like colorful artwork. I have a lot of vintage artwork that I find just in stores in Brooklyn and New York City. This painting I found upstate at some barn that I had to dig through. Probably would have been $1 zillion at a Brooklyn vintage store, but I found it for pretty cheap. So I love to like find a deal whenever I can. I love these like kind of ocean blue curtains. That's another thing of just like, I like a strong pop of color on top of a neutral background. I'm also obsessed with lamps. So I'm gonna be pointing out a lot of lamps as we go through. They're like my favorite thing. I love finding a new cool lamp. I also love ceramics. I'm a prop stylist, so I'm always working with props, decor items, vases, bowls. This is by one of my like favorite ceramicists, A&K Ceramics. I also have in this room a lot of blankets, a lot of pillows, and that's kind of one way that my home is similar to my childhood home. It was always like cozy blankets everywhere, pillows everywhere. Another thing about my childhood home is that there's I guess a lot of tables. I remember one time when I was a kid, where my mom told me this story of when I was like really little and I was really mad at her. And I said, I'm gonna take away all your tables. And for some reason, that's the most threatening thing I could think of. And cut to me as an adult, and I have a lot of tables in this room in particular. This is a table that's actually like a desk, an antique desk that this decor store down the street, Painted Swan, they like refurb old pieces. I have this gorgeous naked man here. He's one of my favorites, one of my boyfriends. And then here we have my mantle, my fireplace. This was one of the things that I kind of wanted to have as I was looking for an apartment, I was like, I don't think I'm gonna find a fireplace, but if I do, that'd be great. So I was very excited when this place had a fireplace. I have a lot of books in here because it's not a working fireplace. So this kind of doubly serves as like kind of a cute aesthetic thing. Also functional and storage. I have a lot of props, again, as a prop stylist, so I have a lot of books. I also have a lot of just my own personal books, so it's a mix of like stuff I use for work and stuff that's mine. On top of the mantle are a lot of like just little trinkets and things that I love. I like to have pieces from my childhood home in my adult home. So like I have a couple little objects that were like on my mom's desk. I particularly love any kind of like little box or thing that you can just like put random stuff in. And that's just when I like have a little thing that I don't know what to do with, I just put it in one of the zillion little boxes that I have all around this apartment. This is a little piece of artwork that was hanging in my childhood home in the living room. I don't know what it is, but I really like it. Styling tip, if you want to make your room look dramatic and cool and stylish, just put a big branch in a vase. Go out and cut one off the tree. I don't think there's any one phrase or word that I would use to describe my personal style or the style of my home. I think it's really kind of an eclectic mix, and a lot of it is influenced maybe from the home I grew up in, specifically like the taste that my mother had. She really loved French country style, so there is some of that influence there, but I wanted to bring in some modern pieces, add a little bit of a modern aesthetic as well. So I like to really mix. I like to mix old and new. I like to mix different styles. I have certain things that I gravitate towards, but I really just like to play. And the important thing for me is that I have a home that is both sort of aesthetically pleasing, you know, that has an eye for design, but that also feels comfortable and cozy and welcoming. So really my goal for the style of my space and for my home is to feel stylish but welcoming. I want my home to be a place where people can come and feel relaxed, feel at ease, feel at home. Over here we have more tables, little table here, little table here. Again, another lamp. I told you that I love lamps. This one's from the Nopo that kind of curates a collection of handmade pieces. This was handmade in Mexico. This is a painting that I did. I like to pretend that I'm an artist and kind of throw paint around and see what happens. This takes me way longer than it should to do like a simple painting because I don't really know what I'm doing, but I like to just kind of make things up. Another one of my favorites, I found this at Humble House, which is a vintage store in Borum Hill. Yeah, love lamps. Most railroad homes will have a second door. So there's a door here, which is actually sealed shut, so I can't even use it. It would be really nice to come in and be able to like come right into my living room, but that is not the case. There's a lot of like quirks about this apartment and there's windows that have been painted over and a lot of weird little things. So I wish this was a real door, but it's actually kind of nice because I can just put stuff up against it and it doesn't matter. Sometimes I have like my TV on this little stand. So there's some stuff that they did to sort of rehab this apartment that I wish that they hadn't done. Like in addition to this door, there's shutters that are sealed here. I wish that they had just like kept these, but they're basically like sealed and painted in. Because that would have been like really cool. If I end up staying here for a long time and just decide that I don't care about my deposit, I'll do some of this like work of maybe uncovering some of these older details. I also have a feeling that there's like a really cool maybe stone fireplace under here. I can see that there's some little like intricate designs that might like show up a little bit better underneath all this paint. You can see this archway has some really cool detail, and that's one of the things that I loved about this apartment was all of the detail, just adding that level of charm, that Brooklyn charm. But yeah, like there's got to be some really nice like wood or something underneath some of these like trims everywhere. So it'd be cool to sort of uncover it. But I do also just think that it looks really nice as is with the white paint. The lighting fixtures in this apartment were all pretty unfortunate. So I had to like find some solutions for making it a little more fun and more me. So this was like a big lantern that I just found on Etsy and had somebody come and install it for me. I changed pretty much every lighting fixture throughout the apartment, and that really did a lot to elevate and change up the space. So if I'm hosting a party, this is kind of the main gathering space. I feel like even though I do have a dining area with an expandable table, everyone kind of just ends up here, like even when we're eating, just kind of all gathered around. This is where we like play games and just sit and chat. So if I'm having like a little get together, I'll probably have the food and drink kind of stationed in this little dining nook, and then everyone will kind of be hanging out here. My favorite part of my home is definitely this room that we're in right now, the living room, because this is where people gather. I have friends over for game nights. I have family stay with me, and you know, this is where we hang out at the beginning, end of the day. It's a nice space to just sit and chat, and that was my whole goal with this room and the apartment as a whole, was for it to just feel comfortable and easy. And so any space where people can feel at home, that's my favorite thing. That's my favorite part. So this room, I think, encapsulates that the most. Speaking of my dining room, I would love to show you. So come follow me into this little alcove. This is where, actually, I don't really sit and eat here that often, but every once in a while. But this is usually where like I lay out all the food if I'm having like a gathering, little snacks and things. I have done, me and my friend Molly hosted like a little paint night where I styled like a vignette in the front or in the center of the table, and then we had people sitting around the table and painting. So we do like fun little things like that. My favorite part about my dining room is this painting right here. So this is one of the quirky things about this apartment. This was a window. I don't know why it was a window, but it appears to have been one. It's basically just this like frame and then like a boarded over wall inside the frame. So when I moved in, I was like, what am I gonna do with this giant rectangle? So my sister is an artist, and I had her find a canvas that was like the exact size of the window and do this beautiful painting for me. And then I painted the frame. Basically, the painting is like hung on top of the wall, and then this window frame I just painted gold to kind of fake look like a picture frame. My other favorite thing in this room is this hutch right here, which is probably my favorite piece of furniture. I love that it kind of feels like a heritage piece, even though I bought it. I didn't inherit it from anyone, but it feels like a family piece of furniture. I felt like a real grown-up when I bought this. And when I saw it in the store, I went home and measured, but it was really tight to fit it in this nook. I had to like saw off pieces of the trim at the top and in the middle here to get it to fit. But if you look at the bottom, there's like barely a centimeter of room to for this thing to fit. I love it. It's such a pretty piece, and it's a great place to kind of store and display props and decor pieces, and also just things that I can like grab to use when I'm having a party, if we're having a little drink, or little snacks that I need like bowls for. I have like way too many teacups. I should really just host a big tea party because I have all these teacups. The last thing that I want to show you in my dining room is this photo that I love so much. This is actually me in the middle there and my siblings, and we are sitting on our driveway amidst all of these shoes because my mom was like getting rid of shoes or something and wanted to like memorialize them. I don't know if she brought out some of the other shoes that she wasn't getting rid of, but basically she put all these shoes on the driveway and had us all pose with them. And I think it's such a cool, weird picture. And it sort of encapsulates this idea of like resourcefulness and kind of having these projects that with your belongings, or just kind of like the stuff of life. Like we have all this stuff and it's all about like making use of them, turning it into like a cool photo or art project. And so that's definitely like a trait that has been inherited to me, is like, what can I use this for? What can I do with this? What weird thing can I do with all this stuff that I'm getting rid of or whatever? So I love this picture. So this is the light fixture that I found on Etsy from a little boutique that's based in Turkey. And I loved the shape, I loved the fabric, I love the color. If you can't tell yet, my favorite colors are blue and yellow. So those are kind of the colors that I like to play with and add in my home. This room is the most bold paint color of any of the rooms in my home. I wanted, I don't know, I wanted this dining room to feel very cozy, and so I went with this dark blue. I was really nervous about it before I painted it because it is like dark and this room is already a little bit dark. But once I started putting on this blue paint, I was like, oh yes, this is very right. It kind of reminds me of the blue in my childhood home that was in like my bedroom carpet was like a kind of blue. There was like a little living room that had a similar blue to this, so I really love this color. This is a rug that I also got on Etsy. I think it's vintage. I tried to get like really strategic about where I was getting stuff. Like these chairs I actually got recently. I bought them from a restaurant. I think like in decorating a home, no matter what your budget is, you kind of have to make some choices on where is it worth it for you to splurge, where your priorities in terms of where you can spend a little bit more, and where can you save money and be a little bit cheaper and get some cheaper stuff that might actually look just as good. So I did a lot of searching on Etsy, Facebook Marketplace, a lot of like vintage hunting, and I was really specific about, where can I kind of spend a little bit more? That would be something like this hutch. And where can I like cut some corners, like buying some cheap chairs that a restaurant is getting rid of and will still look cute and stylish. So I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska, and it really was a wonderful place to grow up. It was the perfect like size city. It was big enough where there was opportunities, things to get involved in, but small enough where it had a nice community feel. It felt safe. It felt like a supportive environment. But I did know as I was finishing high school that I really wanted to expand my horizons. I wanted to experience different cities. I felt ambitious about what I could possibly do for career and work. So I really wanted to get out there and sort of have a little adventure. So I started out in LA. I moved there first for school and worked in LA for a few years after school. And then at a certain point, it kind of became clear to me that I was ready for something new, ready for a big change, and New York had always kind of been in the back of my mind and something, a city that I was really drawn to. So yeah, I just sort of did it. When I moved to New York, I didn't really have a plan. I didn't know what I was gonna do. I didn't have a job when I first moved here. I just had really a gut feeling that it was time to go. So it's been quite a journey since I left Omaha, and I think I've just really been kind of following my nose and seeing where life takes me. So right off my dining room is my guest bedroom, little tiny guest bedroom. So let's come in here. This is actually one of the first rooms that I like really worked on because I had a guest coming, which is always great. I love when people are coming over because it's a reason to like get things done. So my friend Laura was coming to stay, and I was like, okay, she needs to have a nice place to stay, so I'll get this together. So this room doesn't have any windows, so it's like kind of dark. And so I wanted to do something with it that would brighten it up a little bit, but still keep it cozy. So I really wanted to go for some color in this room. This is the one room where I didn't like buy a bunch of paint samples. I just sort of picked one. I bought the paint. I was like, okay, let's just try it. And I did it, and it worked out pretty well. I got this day bed from IKEA, and I painted it the same color as the walls because I wanted this sort of monochromatic look with this kind of turquoise, periwinkle, aqua-ish, sea blue. I don't know what you call it. But I wanted that like monochromatic and then like a punch of strong color with the yellow in the bedding and stuff. And then I have this plethora of pillows for you to plop yourself down onto. I love pillows. A couple of these I got in Paris, thank you very much, from this like cute little boutique called Jamini. It's like a Indian, Franco-Indian design store. So this bed actually pulls out into a king and basically takes up the entire room, but I always just pull it all the way out so that whoever's in here can just really lounge and relax. And that's one of the reasons why I actually took off the door that was on here, because it wouldn't even open when the king bed was pulled out. But I also like it because it just lets in a lot of like more air from the living room. And then I put this like curtain here to kind of divide the rooms. And so you can take the curtain off to get some, I guess, like darken the room or get some privacy from the living room. So this is the other side of that window that I showed you in the dining room. These little shelves were already here when I moved in, but I painted the inside this like darker blue. And here's another space where I have like a lot of knickknacks and things, and some of my favorite books, mostly the blue books, go here because I'm crazy and kind of color code my books. But there's a lot of little fun pieces on here that I love. Like, I love this think sign. My mom worked for IBM in like the 80s or something, I think. And she had this little think sign on her desk. And I found a similar one on eBay or something, and I got it. And there's my mom right there. I like to have, some really specific, well-chosen photos of family in specific spots. So I also have like my mom and dad right there, and just nice little reminders of home. I was really lucky with this apartment in New York City to find an apartment that has some pretty good storage. So I have a lot of closets, which is nice. I'm not gonna open my closets for you because that's too personal. But yeah, I love my closets. And then on this side of the room, there's just a little desk that I never really sit at, but I do stuff papers in the drawers. So it's a little storage place. And when I have people come stay, they might like sit here and do their makeup or fix their hair or something. And I'm just perpetually praying that this mirror doesn't fall off the wall. Some of these walls I feel like are kind of crumbly. It's an old building, but it's holding together pretty well so far. Here's another boarded up window. It's always like, why did they board these up? What's going on? But for this one, I decided to like paint the inside of it a darker blue, and then I have all of my little Beyonce postcards posted there, because we gotta have the queen in here somewhere. So there were a lot of things that I did to kind of put my personal stamp on this home. One of the first things I did was I painted the whole thing. I first chose a color for this living room and my bedroom, which insanely took about 10 different samples to go through, because it's like basically white, but those neutrals, those like off-white colors can be challenging and have different kind of undertones, so I went really crazy picking that paint color. And then I went for some bolder colors in like my dining room and my guest room. So painting was kind of the first step. And then it was bringing in furniture, which I basically had nothing, because when I lived with roommates, either they had stuff or the stuff that I brought in was, things that I got very cheaply or at a sample sale at my old job. And I really didn't want to feel too tied down by my stuff. So I didn't really invest. But when I came here, I was ready to build a home and ready to invest more. So then it became searching for furniture and the right pieces to sort of add some personality. This little nook in the middle of my apartment is actually the entryway. So when you come in the door right here, you either go that way towards the living room or that way towards my bedroom. This one big long apartment, and you start here. But I really like having a little space, a little nook to kind of come in, set things down, a place to like greet people. I think it's nice to have a sort of foyer entry moment as a buffer from the rest of the apartment. So I have a little drop zone right here. If I don't put my keys there, I'll never find them. And then like hooks to throw your coat or your bag. And since this was just like a little teeny nook, I decided I'd throw a lot of art on the walls to kind of draw your eye up and just kind of have a little fun project for myself of filling this kind of gallery. So I love this little table, another one of my beloved tables, a vintage piece that I found in the neighborhood. And then, yeah, a lot of artwork that I really like, including this picture that I found that's a vintage photograph of this street, and this piece of art that's a drawing from my Uncle Tom. I don't even think he knows that I have this, but he drew this for a book that my mom wrote in her 20s, and I really love that. And there's a print also from my sister, the same sister that did the painting in my dining room. There's a print of a painting she did of this landscape with trees and people hidden in the trees. They're all playing musical instruments. And then from here we can head into my bedroom. So let's go this way. Okay, so this is my bedroom. This is the first room that I saw when I first saw the apartment. And yeah, this is the one where the broker said this is the living room, which does make sense because the kitchen's right there. But I just decided to change everything up and use the bigger room as the living room and this room as my bedroom, even though there's essentially a kitchen in my bedroom. So this is another space like the living room that I wanted to have sort of like a neutral base, just like a relaxing, calm foundation, and then add some color, like with the textiles, with the pillows. Here I have my dresser, which I really love. For the first few months that I lived here, I just had a pile of clothes on my floor because I couldn't find the perfect dresser that was like the right size. I wanted something that was like both tall and wide, and then I found this at a antique store and it was blue, which is perfect. Another lamp. We know I love lamps. This bowl is usually filled to the brim with receipts, but I've tidied up for you guys. So this is where I toss all my receipts and then hopefully organize them someday later. I told you I love my family photographs. This is my favorite picture of my mom and my grandpa. I just love it. I love both of them, and they both look so chic. This was like in the 70s. Most of my artwork is vintage, and I either got it at like a little antique stand or found this one on Cherish, I think. I have a bunch of my journals up here. This goes in with like the kind of record keeping theme that like that photo in my dining room of my mom taking this photo of all the shoes. I just love keeping records, whether it's through photos or through writing. And so these are all my journals, at least the ones from the past several years since I've lived in New York. And then I have a bunch more in storage somewhere. And then over here, I have this little dining table, little tiny dining nook. I thought I would just embrace the fact that my kitchen is right off my bedroom and have this little table and chairs. So it's nice because I can like sit here in the morning and have a cup of coffee. I actually end up like eating at this little table a lot, even like dinner sometime, or having a little nightcap or something. So I love this little table. So over here, I have a cute little bookshelf. All these shelves were already here when I moved in, so that was really nice. I guess this is the kind of like blonde beige book area. I always like to have just like little teeny tokens and sprinkles of little objects that I love hiding on bookshelves, like, you know, this little owl that was on my mom's desk, or these little guys that have been sort of like good luck charms since I was a kid. I got these in London at a flea market. Just this little elephant guy and this little dice this little die that tells you what to do if you're bored. Read, tidy room, which is what I was doing this morning before you got here. More lamps. You know I love lamps. If you know me at all yet. These are from Notary Ceramics. They're based on the Pacific Northwest somewhere. But this ceramicist that I really love that makes these beautiful lamps with these cute shades. And this right here is a walk-in closet that is my prop closet where I keep all my props for work. I am not going to open that for you because, again, that is too personal. And it's a mess right now. But yes, very lucky to have a lot of storage in this apartment. That was one of the main things that I was looking for, was storage. I had to have a place to keep my props and my stuff. It was storage, it was have a space for guests, it was have an apartment that had some charm and character, and then the fireplace. That was the icing on the cake. So as I said, I'm a prop stylist, and that career has definitely influenced my taste in decor. In working for different home furnishing and home decor brands, I have to really be aware of design trends, what people are gravitating towards, what's selling. I have to stay modern and current, and balance that with my own personal style and taste. So this apartment, decorating this was really like a fun, kind of playful experience of getting to explore my style based on, you know, where my taste has always been, how I grew up, and then integrating that with sort of where I am now and the more modern aesthetics that I've acquired from my work. So the other thing too about my job is that it has me constantly looking for design inspiration. I'm constantly seeing, you know, images of homes, and you know, those always really excite me. and so I see something that I love, I see something that I'm really drawn to, and I think, oh, I can play with that in my home. So just being immersed in the design world and the styling world has it constantly on my mind. What can I do to play with my home, to make it feel mine, to make it feel fun and exciting. Let's make our way into the kitchen. Welcome to my kitchen, my tiny little kitchen. It is small, but I love it because it has some really nice light. It feels, very, very happy and sunny. And I was about to say I like cooking in here, but that's a lie because I don't really cook that much, sorry to say. It's New York City. I order takeout a lot. But I have this little chair for if the rare moments that I am cooking, I can have a friend sit and chat. In my dream world, I have like a big kitchen that basically has like a living room in it so that people can chat. Because I do love, even though I don't cook much, I do love the whole vibe of the kitchen. That's like hang out, make a meal. I do have some aspirational cookbooks in the corner, and this countertop here was like a kind of ugly granite that I didn't love, so I recovered it in this contact paper in this pretty blue color, but don't get too close because I only did kind of an okay job here. But it makes me much happier to look at this blue. I have some plants in the window and more little trinkets from my childhood home. My mom really liked roosters. Her mom was Swedish, so this is a little Swedish rooster. I have a few little roosters around. And then I have some more family photos, Christmas cards on my fridge. So on this hidden side of my fridge, this is where I keep all my magnets from my Broadway shows. I love theater, and every time I see a show, I get a little magnet. So that's a little kind of hide and seek moment. If you happen to be on this side of my kitchen, you can see all of the shows that I've been to. Some more like vintage art in this little room that I really love. I got this from this place called Joliet. That's like an online store for like French antiques. Right here I have my mother's famous kolache recipe that my sister printed and laminated for me, or copied and laminated with her little notes. Even though I said I don't cook that much, when I do it, I'm pretty good because I can follow a recipe. I'm a good baker because I can really follow a recipe, which you have to do when you're baking. And so I've made these kolaches before, and they're really delicious. The idea of home has always been something that has been really fascinating to me and really important to me. I had a really strong relationship to the home that I grew up in, not only like the physical space, the house, but also just the environment and the people. And I think that's sort of a theme or a question of my entire life is, what is home? How do you feel at home? And some of that is just your general environment. It's the people in your life that make you feel at home. It's being secure in yourself as well as the people around you, feeling comfortable with where you're at. And that is a more spiritual place, and it also, I think, is reflected in your physical space. So a home should be someplace where you feel safe. It should be someplace where you feel like the most yourself. And so when I'm putting a home together, it's not only, a reflection of the person that lives there in terms of their style and their aesthetic taste, but it's also a reflection of who they are and how they want to find comfort in the space, how I want to find comfort in my home, and how I want other people to find comfort here. Because as much as I love stuff and things and pretty furniture and pretty dishes and all of the stuff, it kind of doesn't mean anything without the people to share in the space and the people to share in your home, because it's really the people in your life that make you feel like home.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Claudia. Welcome to my studio apartment in Brooklyn, New York. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hi, my name is Claudia Williams. I'm a freelance writer and content creator living in Brooklyn, New York, and today we are in my roughly 400 square foot studio apartment. So I've been living in Brooklyn for 4 years, and I had had roommates the entire time, and in September my lease was up and I was ready to live alone. I wanted to get a cat, but if you've ever lived in New York or roughly anywhere in the world, you know that September is kind of the trickiest time of year to move. It's like a cutthroat experience, so I decided that instead of immediately moving into a new apartment, I was going to put my stuff into storage and travel a bit. I'm a freelancer, so I really had no reason not to. So I put everything in storage and I went to England for 2 months, and I lived in London with a stranger. We wound up becoming really great friends, and then at the end of the trip, I did a road trip through the Cotswolds and Dorset and went to antique malls and flea markets and took baths twice a day and read by the fireplace, and it was so idyllic. But in the back of my mind the entire time, I knew I was going to be going back to New York and needed an apartment. So at the beginning of the trip, I had hired a broker. Her name is Naomi Steinberg, and she went to apartment viewings for me, and we would FaceTime, and I swear I talked to her more than I talked to my mother on that trip, because it was every day. I was on Street Easy looking for apartments constantly, and being a freelancer with a single income, landlords just did not like me. So I got declined from, I think, 15 or 20 apartments while I was in England, and so I was just like so stressed, and I thought, okay, I'll go back to New York and hopefully when I'm there it becomes easier. And so I got back and I stayed with friends, and I would go to apartment viewings every day, and everything was just not it. It was either overpriced or like icky, and I was like, I'm not gonna put my heart and soul into an apartment I don't love. So I kind of decided, okay, maybe I'll move home for a while. It was just a really treacherous time in my life. And then one night at like midnight, I was on Street Easy, and I thought, what if I just raised my budget by $100 and just like, what if something was just a little bit over budget? And so I did that, and this apartment showed up, and the photos of it were really bad. A man had been living here, which he had bikes hanging from the ceiling. The walls were dark gray. He had tools everywhere, and it was just a really awful layout. But I noticed this mirror. It's a Pierre mirror. It's original to the house, and I immediately like gasped, because all I wanted was an apartment with architecture and natural light. And so I emailed the broker, and she was like, can you come in the morning? And I came the next morning, met her, we became besties, and the guy who was living here was like, this is the best apartment I've ever lived in. The landlord's super kind. Utilities are included, it's rent stabilized, there's laundry in the basement, and I was just like, had tears in my eyes because I was so excited. And so I got the keys 2 weeks later, and still to this day cannot believe I live here, because it's like the dream apartment, and I don't know how I got so lucky. But I firmly believe that all of the stress and apartment denials and just the waiting was worth it because I found this apartment, and so I like to think it was waiting for me. So here we are in like the living space of my apartment. These are the bookshelves, my pride and joy. They only cost about $120 to make, so if you're considering installing bookshelves into your apartment, let me tell you, it is a lot easier and cheaper than you'd think. I am a big fan of historical fiction, so a lot of the books I have are either some form of romance, fiction about like the war. I love a spy novel, things like that. Some of my favorite books in my collection are ones I bought in the Cotswolds. So this is an entire book about old English country houses, and it's just like the most beautiful book. I think I bought probably 15 books while I was in England, so my suitcase was overweight and I had to pay $100 to bring it home, which was probably not my best move, but alas, what are you gonna do? And then I am a huge fan of these terracotta pictures. This one I bought recently on a trip upstate. It's French, and I have about 6 or so of them. I love that they don't all match, but they all kind of tell a story. So you can see I have one up there that I got in Florida, of all places. And then both of those I bought in New York. One of them I found on a street. Someone was selling it on their curb, which is hilarious, only in New York. And then, yeah, I have a lot of cute little books that I've just collected through the years. Sometimes I buy a book, even if it's in a foreign language, because I think it's cute. This one is entirely in German. I have no idea what it says, but I love the way it looks. So, you know, some things are more for looks than for practicality, and that's okay too. And a lot of the art that I have in the apartment, I have found throughout my travels. I found this one at a flea market in Spain, and it actually went missing for 3 years while I was in New York. I couldn't find it. And then I found it literally like tucked away in the back of a closet in my last apartment on move-out day, and that was exhilarating. This is kind of a fun piece. This I found on the street, and it is filled with my matchbook collection. I have a ton of matches from restaurants throughout New York. I kind of just steal them wherever I go. This one's from Boston. And this is filled to the brim with matches. Some of them are also my dad's. He collected matches as well. One of my favorite things is I found a matchbook of his with a woman's phone number on it, which is a little bit scandalous. So if I had to pick one area of the apartment that I feel like really embodies like who I am and like my design style, it would definitely be my bookshelf. Everything I have on there is something that I love with all my heart. If this apartment set on fire, I would try and take everything on the bookshelf with me. And so I think about the bookshelves look kind of cluttered, but they're very curated and everything has a place, and I just keep adding to it when I find treasures that speak to me. And I've always dreamed of a bookcase with everything I love on it. So every time I sit on the couch and watch a movie or read, just looking at that bookcase that goes up 12 feet brings me immense joy. And then when I finish a book, I get to get on a ladder because they're 12 foot tall, climb up to the top and put the book on the top shelf, because I have a system where books on the top shelves I've read, books on the bottom shelves I haven't read, so it's easily grabbable. And yeah, the other highlight of this corner of the apartment is the original shutters. They open and close, so it's kind of my morning ritual with Stanley. I'll wake up in the morning and immediately open the shutters because he loves to see outside and chirp with the birds. They have like this amazing opening and closing and the original locks on them. And so it's great for privacy, great for blocking out the sun if I'm having a cozy movie day. And yeah, they're just stunning, and it makes for a great little place for a cat to hang out. He's very happy here. So this chair has been in my family for 125 years, but this pillow is actually an Indian block printed pillow that I got from Lulu in Georgia, but it has kind of an antique feel to it. So this is one of the newer things in my apartment. but it's actually, I feel like it looks collected and like I've gotten it on like some of my travels, which I really look for in a piece. So when I moved into this apartment in November, it had these very blah chandeliers that I just felt like didn't do the apartment justice. And I waited 6 months to find the right chandeliers, and they're from a brand out of England called Pookie. And they are absolutely stunning. And what really like drew my eye to them were the shades on all of the light bulbs. They're made with Morris & Co. linen fabric and have this silk yellow interior that when you turn them on, it just warms up the room. I'm not usually an overhead lighting person. I am a big fan of lamps, but these chandeliers have kind of changed that for me. When you turn them on, they're like so warm and make the room feel just really grand, and I feel like kind of highlights all of the details. The mirror, the way the light reflects off the mirror is super special. And the brand also sent me a really great lamp for my desk, which is also made of Morris & Co. linen fabric. And I just love the kind of English, cottagey, but also refined feel that they have to them. And I will be taking these with me when I move out. I kept the original chandeliers. They're hiding in a closet. And so I'm sorry to my landlord, but these will be coming with me. So here we have the pièce de résistance. This is the original Pierre mirror. It goes all the way up to the ceiling, which makes for a really fun Windexing and dusting experience. I have to crawl on the ladder. And I, to this day, just cannot believe I have this in my apartment. I feel like, it makes the space feel so much longer and kind of, you know, brings your eye up and is just a stunning thing to look at, but it's also extremely practical because I didn't have to buy a floor-length mirror when I moved in. And so yeah, this would have been the original parlor room where the family who lived in the brownstone would have like received guests and had a grand old time. And now I get to watch You've Got Mail while hanging out on my couch and looking at it. Have a house scent? I didn't think so, at least. And then the other day I was talking to a friend of mine and I was saying, I really wish my apartment had a signature scent. And she looked at me and she was like, it does. And I'm not sure what that is. It must just be a culmination of the various candles I'm burning. This candle is from a really old pharmacy in the West Village called C.O. Bigelow. They use their original like packaging for their candles, which I think is just so amazing. So it kind of goes into the antique inspired feel that I love in this apartment. And then this candlestick is actually my grandma's. I remember it being in her guest bedroom when I was little. We'd have sleepovers. And one of my favorite things about it is you can raise or lower the candle. I'm probably not going to do it right now because the candle's lit. It's really special. I don't even know how old this thing is. And it also came with a wick cutter. So once the candle's done burning, you can chop the wick off. And this is one of my favorite little vignettes in the whole apartment. So now we are kind of migrating into the living area and where I spend a majority of my time with this guy. His name is Stanley. Hello. But I call him Boozles because I don't think anybody calls their cat by their real name. This sofa is the comfiest thing I've ever sat on. It's an IKEA sofa that I got on Facebook Marketplace. I never thought I'd have a white couch because I'm quite prone to spills, but so far we're doing well. I just have a bleach pen on hand at all times. And then I put this cute little quilt down for Stanley to sleep on. This quilt I actually found on the streets of New York on a railing outside of an apartment, and I went home and washed it, obviously. I think one of my favorite things in the living area would have to be these curtains, which I made. You might be able to tell because they're a little bit wonky, but my best friend growing up, Marina, her grandma was a huge sewer and like a really talented seamstress, and she passed away recently, and Marina went into her sewing room and took piles of fabric and picked out ones that she thought I would like, and I brought them back and made a curtain out of it. So this is kind of an homage to my friend Marina's grandma Peggy, which is really sweet. And yeah, they're a little bit wonky, but you know, I like that they add character. And he likes to peek out the windows. Hello. So because the space is kind of tight, I don't have like a proper end table. And this stool belonged to my dad. I think it's Chinese and it's hundreds of years old, and it has this beautiful mother of pearl inlay on it. And it can double as like a place to put my coffee. I can put my feet up. I also use it when I have friends over for dinner as a dining little stool. It's usually where I sit because it's not the most comfortable, but I just love the floral pattern on it and how it adds kind of a whimsical, warm feel to the room. I can honestly say there are no challenges that have come with living in a studio apartment. I feel like I've laid the space out so perfectly, and I also live alone. It's just me and my cat Stanley. And the 12-foot ceilings of the apartment really make it feel big, and the windows let in so much light. There's also a front porch where I have a dining table so my friends and I can eat outside, and the desk behind me also doubles as a dining table. So I've truly never run into any issues living in a studio. I think from an outsider's perspective, like my family who live in, 5-bedroom homes in Illinois, look at a studio and think, how could you ever live in there? But in New York, you just kind of you fine-tune your belongings and your lifestyle to fit the space. I don't have anything in excess. Everything I have is for a reason. I've purged a lot throughout the years. And so I kind of love living in a studio. I love that I get to see everything all the time. If I lived in a big house, I wouldn't get to see everything I love. And yeah, it's very cozy in here. It's very intimate. And I plan to live here for eternity. Probably not, but I would if I could. So now we are kind of segueing into my bedroom, or my area of slumber. Because this is a studio, there's not a real defining line between bedroom and living room. So I found this stunning antique room divider on a road trip to Cape Cod. I think it has to be hundreds of years old, maybe it's not, but I found it in a dressing room. And I asked the woman at the front desk, I was like, is that for sale? And she said, no. And I said, would you reconsider? And so she said, if I can find another room divider in the basement that I can use in its place, you can buy it. So I bought this even before I knew that I was moving out of my apartment, just because I knew one day I was going to live alone in a studio most likely, and I would need it. So she finally has her moment to shine, and she defines the living room and the bedroom, and I also use her to hang clothes on. And so she kind of gets cluttered throughout the week, but she's doing her job, and I love her. So we're segueing into the slumber area. One of my favorite pieces is this dresser that I got on Facebook Marketplace a few years ago. The owners of it actually hand delivered it to me and carried it up the stairs, and they were emotional getting rid of it because they loved it so much, but they just didn't have space for it anymore. It's made out of English pine, and it has these original knobs that I love, and the joinery, the woodwork is amazing. People just do not make stuff like this anymore, And so she doubles as a nightstand, and I have this little basket hanging with my little hand creams and my chapsticks, just things you need before bed. And then hanging above the dresser is the painting that I had mentioned earlier that I saw at an antique store in upstate New York. It's hand painted on wood, and it was a little bit out of my budget, but so I didn't buy it immediately. And then for weeks afterwards, I just kept saying to myself, why didn't you buy the painting? And so I wound up emailing, and the owner of the painting mailed it to me. And her name is Clarice. I named her. And I don't know her story, but I feel like I should make one up for her because she's so elegant, and I love her hat, and her necklace is great as well. And yeah, these sconces are just for looks. They don't work. And I got these cute little sconce shades on a trip to Philly. But one day maybe I'll hardwire them so they actually turn on. But for now, I just like the way they look. And I like the way they kind of anchor my headboard as well, which is this beautiful upholstered headboard from Lulu in Georgia in a really nice ochre and white stripe that matches everything else in my apartment that's yellow, including this gingham lampshade that I love. So I feel like there was a phase where everybody had white bedding, and then everybody decided white bedding was kind of dull, and I am on that train. I really wanted pattern fun kind of cottagey bedding, and this is from Piglet in Bed, which is an English brand. And I loved the gingham, and I kind of like the way that it highlights the pink bed skirt, which brings in the pink from the chair. And then I have some pinstriped cotton sheets from a brand called Koyuchi that are like hotel level soft. One day maybe I'll have white bedding again. I doubt it. I love just kind of playing with different textures and fabrics and having fun. Especially living in a studio, when your bed is out for the world to see, you have to make it pretty and you have to make it fun and match the vibe. And yeah, I really love this bedding. I dreamed of having a rug this color, and I just could not find it anywhere. And then I was working with Lulu in Georgia on the headboard, and I thought, do you have a rug that is this perfect shade of green? And it's actually vintage, handmade, and it's a stunning green color that I think pulls out perfectly from the other greens in my apartment. Everything feels really like nothing came together, but somehow feels like it was made for each other. The rug is my favorite thing in the apartment, and it's also Stanley's. He loves to get his nails in there, which is really bad for the rug, but you know, what are you gonna do? He's a cat, so. From the bedroom, you look directly at these stunning double doors, which sold me on the apartment. When I walked in the front door of the building and she was like, that's the door of the apartment, I was like, you're kidding me. They are just amazing. The landlord restained them recently to match the other wood in the apartment, and just to like lay in bed at night and look at these doors is like a treat. I feel like I'm constantly like on a little English, you know, B&B escape in my own home, which I feel very blessed for. But yeah, they're grand. They make for a grand entrance. Everyone who comes over is like also like, those are your front doors. And I'm like, yeah, those are my front doors. So now we have my desk, which is a recent acquisition. I looked on Facebook Marketplace for 2 months trying to find a pine old desk that would fit this like perfect little nook. And I even went on a road trip to upstate New York looking for an antique desk and didn't find one. And then this man in Chelsea was selling this desk. The photos of it were bad. He had no measurements, he had no details, but I saw the potential, and so I went and picked it up, and it somehow like fit absolutely perfectly. And it does double duty as a dining table as well if I pull it out from the wall. And this chair is a Salvation Army find. It was $10. It's not the most comfortable chair, but she's doing the job for now. Maybe one day I'll get like an actual comfortable desk chair, but you know, sometimes aesthetics are more important than comfort. And this is a fun little curation of some of my favorite pieces of art. When I moved to New York, I had a few pieces of art, but nothing that I really loved. And this piece was the first painting I ever bought for myself, as opposed to, you know, stealing from my grandpa, who's an art collector. I found it at a store in Carroll Gardens. This is a etching of a famous church in Vienna. I studied abroad in Vienna in college, and I never bought a souvenir while I was over there, and I always regretted it. And I found this at Chelsea Flea Market for like 20 bucks, and I was like, that's the souvenir I never bought for myself. And then this is from my dad. It's missing the glass, but I kind of like the way it looks. And this is another one of those terracotta pictures that I collect. This is also a Chelsea Market find. Chelsea Flea Market is open on the weekends. If you haven't been, that is where a lot of my good antiques come from. Not to give away all my secrets, but Chelsea Flea Market in Manhattan is great. And yeah, this gorgeous lamp is from the same brand who made my chandeliers, and she just adds a lot of coziness, and she also is made of that terracotta orange that I really like. So like I was saying, everything in my apartment has a story behind it. This sconce I got on my road trip in England, and my bag was so overweight with books that I had to take some stuff out and mail it home. And if you've never mailed anything home from England, the customs form, they take it so seriously, and I did not know that. So I shipped this home, some heavy sweaters and like some tea, but somehow the box made it to me 2 months later. So this was a sort of, you know, a long-awaited piece to hang on my wall. And then these candlesticks I also got in England, and they're like perfectly tiny and it just makes my heart happy just to have a little heart sconce. So yeah, that was a bit of a process to get that candlestick here. So I needed some extra storage in this apartment, and I wanted a piece that had some character to it. And I found this on Facebook Marketplace, and it was 2 blocks away, so I just carried it home. It's really heavy. But it was this sort of boring, creamy white color. And I had just visited the Betsy Ross house in Philadelphia, the woman who made the first American flag. And the molding of her house had this minty, perfect green. And I took photos of it and brought it to the hardware store and had them match it. So this is Betsy Ross green. And I painted it and probably didn't even let it dry properly before I started decorating it because I was so excited. And on it is my collection of miniature milk creamers. So I have the big ones on the bookshelf, but then I also like to collect these really tiny ones. I make a lot of coffee at home and film like coffee content. And so I bought these as kind of like a way to pour your milk and just make it look really cute. And then I got hooked on collecting them. And so now when my friends go on trips, they buy me them. So my friend just went to Mexico and bought me this one. I love this guy. They're just kind of silly and make my heart happy. And then this is another find I got on a trip to the Netherlands. It's a French brand or French maker. And it has this cute little guy on it with cute little pants. So, and these are my cookbooks. I have some vintage cookbooks. And this is a cookbook that belonged to my dad. It's like a tiki drink, a famous tiki drink place. And it's a bartender's guide to making cocktails. I would consider my apartment like traditional eclectic. It's kind of curated and cluttered and collected, but also very refined, and everything is really intentional. And mostly everything in the apartment is antique or secondhand. I can probably count on my 10 fingers how many things in the apartment are new. A lot of things are gifted from grandparents or my parents. I found a lot of things at flea markets or antique stores. I found some stuff on the street, Facebook Marketplace. If I could spend every day of my life thrifting or going to flea markets, I would. I never get sick of it. And so that's kind of what I just look for pieces that speak to me or have a story. Ideally, everything I buy, I will have forever. And yeah, I think traditional eclectic. I also like to call this apartment my urban cottage. I feel sometimes when I'm at home, I put on like the fireplace on my TV and have a cup of tea and pretend I'm in England again, and it's not that far off. From here we head into the bathroom. It's kind of just your typical New York bathroom, but I wanted to add some character to it. If you'll notice, I clearly like floral yellow fabric. So from the time I got the apartment to moving in, I had a week, and I didn't want to buy any furniture because I didn't know what I would need. So I started hyperfixating on getting a shower curtain, and I couldn't find one anywhere that I liked online. So my friend Shay decided she was going to make one for me. And we went to a few fabric stores in the city, and I just didn't find any fabric I liked. And then we thought, what if we get a tablecloth? And so I went to this store in Cobble Hill called 21 Terra, and I bought this Indian block printed tablecloth, and then my friend Shay sewed it into a shower curtain. And shower curtains are like the focal point of a bathroom. They take up so much visual space. So I was like, I want to love this shower curtain. And I think I think it's so special. I love the tulips on it. Tulips are my favorite flower. And now I get to match my shower curtain. And yeah, it's pretty compact, but I feel like I've made it work. I installed these pegs that kind of, I hang my towels, my glasses, little baskets, and then some found art that I got in the city at Housing Works, which is a great thrift store. And yeah, the ceilings are tall in here as well, which makes it feel bigger. I really love this bathroom, despite it being quite compact. It's really cozy. Everything in this apartment, like I was saying, is found or thrifted, and this was a Facebook Marketplace find. It was $60, and I had the girl Uber package it to me. So it just showed up on my doorstep, and it is the perfect storage little guy, and it's come with me to 2 different apartments now, and I feel like I'll have her forever, and she'll just kind of wear many hats and serve different purposes throughout her life. This is my little bowl of bars of soap because I love bars of soap. And you know, just these are my grandma's, the same grandma who had the candlestick, and she downsized recently and held on to a bunch of stuff for me that she thought I would like, and so now I get to put them in my apartment, which is really special. And the lamp, I'm not a big overhead lighting person, so I don't ever turn the light on in the bathroom. I just turn this little lamp on. And if you've ever driven by a house at Christmas time and noticed all of those candles in the windows, this is what that is. I got it for $1 at a thrift store, and it's supposed to be like, you know, in the window, and then I just put a little lampshade on it, and it makes for a really cozy showering experience as opposed to like the bright overhead light, which I do not like. Just never turn that on. So I am a freelance writer and content creator. So currently I'm working on some stories for Architectural Digest focused around historic homes, which is my dream. I recently did a story on Biltmore, and I'm working on a piece on Mount Vernon, which is George Washington's estate. And then as a content creator, I love to make videos in my home. I love highlighting kind of like slow living, waking up with like having a cup of coffee and a book. And now that I've moved in this apartment, I've really pivoted towards interiors as well. So I make a lot of content around decorating, before and after videos, DIYs and stuff like that. So I kind of just wear a lot of hats. As a content creator and writer, I feel like I really get to exercise my creativity and kind of just like go where the wind takes me, which I'm very blessed to be able to do. And creating content in this beautiful home and writing about historic homes is just like my dream job, so I'm very lucky. So now we are moving into my kitchen. It's pretty small by most people's standards, but for me it does the job and it's perfect. I covered the counters in this peel and stick paper, which took a lot of trial and error, but once I got it down, I feel like it makes a world of a difference. I had considered painting the cabinets, but it's so much work to paint cabinets, and I kind of like the wood. I feel like the kitchen is really cozy and warm, and I was like, why am I gonna paint the cabinets? So I just didn't, and I kind of like the way it looked. One thing that I've done that I really love is I hung art on the backsplash. I think that's becoming more and more common these days, but this piece of art I had nowhere to put in the living room, and I was like, what if I just hung it in the kitchen? So I got like a command hook and I hung that there, and I like the way it looks and kind of makes the corner feel special. Like, I think a kitchen can be, it doesn't have to feel like a kitchen, it can be another warm, cozy place to hang out, and I feel like this kitchen is very much that. All of these little things I found, you know, thrift stores. I love all these wooden spoons. And again, this is another one of those little miniature lamps. I cook in the dark because I don't like overhead lighting, but you know, it's the price you pay. So the newest addition to this kitchen is this light. I had fallen in love with a light similar to this on Pinterest, but it was multi-hundreds of dollars, and I just was not prepared to spend that. And the friend who made the shower curtain, my friend Shay, once again, she's very talented. She was like, I will make you that light. And so I got another block printed tablecloth, and we went to town and made it in the span of probably a week. She made most of it. I kind of just like encouraged and helped where I could. And then she installed it, and I just am obsessed with it. No one has one. It's completely, you know, it's an original Shay creation. And I like the way that it pulls in green from the rest of the apartment and adds a little sort of whimsical touch. Yeah, I still don't turn her on that often because I like the intimacy of the lamps, but I feel like she's more like a piece of art than a light, and I just adore her. And then because the counter space is sort of limited in the kitchen, I built this kind of rolling skirted table moment. And I got this fabric from a flea market in London. It's French cotton, and I just put a piece of wood on this like tiny little table, skirted it, stained the wood, and then hung this directly above it. This was a find from a junk store in Williamsburg, and I feel like it almost looks kind of built in and looks very like shaker inspired. The hooks are really functional. I can grab whatever I need. All of my linen napkins that I found. I love collecting linens. These are all, I bring them out for my dinner parties. I'm kind of anti-paper towel, anti-paper napkin. And yeah, I have, you know, my granola, my coffee, my tea. This is kind of where I make my morning coffee. I love to cook. I'm not very inventive. I grew up with an Italian grandma, so I'm used to eating a lot of pasta, garlic, lemon. My friends joke that every time they come over, I make them some variation of the same lemon chicken soup. And so I'm trying to kind of branch out a little bit, but I just make what, you know, feels right. I think my signature dish, besides the lemon chicken soup that everybody jokes about, is bolognese. I went to Bologna, Italy a few years ago and spent like a year trying to make the bolognese taste the same way that they made it. And I feel like I perfected it. And so that's what I make when guests are coming over and I know I want, like, I don't want to fail and try some weird new dish. So I just make bolognese and it never fails and it always tastes good. I also love to bake. I opened a bakery in my mom's kitchen during the pandemic called Claudette's, and I was making croissants, I was making banana bread, cookies. And so one day I hope to open a real bakery in upstate New York. That's kind of my retirement plan. But for now, I'm just baking for friends and making pasta and enjoying the small kitchen and making the most of it. I think home for me is not always a specific place. It's kind of more like a feeling of just like safety and comfort and warmth. I made this apartment my home. I think I could have done that anywhere. I'm glad it's this apartment because it's stunning. But one thing my mom reminded me of when I couldn't find an apartment, she was like, wherever you move, you will make it cute. You will make it your home. And so, yeah, I think home is what you make of it and what you fill a home with, like love, things you love, a cozy cat. And yeah, I think home is just your belongings, things you love, and cozy comfort.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Adnan. Welcome to my home in New York City. I can't wait to show you around.
Hi, I'm Allison Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and we're now offering a membership plan that gives our supporters early and exclusive access to new videos.
Hi, Homeworthy.
I'm Roz.
You're here at my home in Los Angeles?
Come on in. I can't wait to show you around.
With this membership, we invite you to open more doors, discovering new homes, rooms, and personalities available only to those with the keys to our guest house. You'll be part of a community of people who are just as passionate as you are about interior design. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi everyone, I'm Adnan Anwar, and we're in New York City at my apartment on the Upper East Side. So I was not supposed to live in this apartment. I had signed a lease on another apartment in the area that burned down the day I was moving in. I was on a plane with my stuff. I got a call when I'd already boarded from the super that there was a fire going on, he wasn't sure what was happening, and it was probably best if I turned around if I was in the car. And thankfully, not many of my things had been shipped there yet, so, and I was fine, which was great. But After that, I was living at a friend's house, kind of figuring out what my next move would be. And this apartment was the first apartment I saw. And it honestly seemed too good to be true. I honestly was the first thing I saw that day. And I ended up seeing, I think, 6 more apartments that week before I finally pulled the trigger. And I knew this was the one. I loved the herringbone floors, I loved the light, I loved being only a block from Central Park, and I loved that it was a small building. We're in a townhouse building that was built in the late 19th century, and I have 1 floor of it. It's definitely a historic building. It has beautiful banisters in the hallway, and crown molding, and interesting, these, you'll see almost hexagonal arches breaking things up, but it was overlaid with a lot of landlord specials over the years that I tried to rectify. Otherwise, they mostly did an okay job. Not a great bathroom renovation, and I had to make some tweaks to the kitchen, but overall, good bones, I would say. I think it's somewhere between, I haven't measured it, which is funny because I do this for a living, but I'm probably somewhere between 600 and 800 square feet. Welcome to my living room, which is the biggest room in my apartment and also where I definitely spend the most time. This apartment definitely had a proper fireplace or a decorative fireplace originally. And when I got the apartment, there was no mantle in it. So it was just this awkward dip. And I knew I wanted to add a mantle in because it felt most logical with the layout and as though it would create a focal point. I was just looking for the right one, and I didn't want to have one custom made because it is a rental apartment. I found out that the fireplace was actually salvaged from a Rockefeller estate that was being redone in Greenwich. And so I put the TV over it, and it definitely presented a problem of the rare times when it is off. It can be kind of an eyesore, and I don't love the projecting art on TVs, and I also can't figure it out. So what I ended up doing is getting a collection of film stills from various movies that I'm always adding to in black and white. So when I'm not watching the TV, that's on. So it's as though I have art above the fireplace. But because it's such a wide fireplace, I knew I needed something underneath it that wouldn't be painting it black, and ideally something reflective. Kind of flipping the usual thing of having the mirror over the fireplace. And a proper mirror I thought would be a little too intense to stare at when I was sitting on the sofa. It would make me a little uneasy. So I found these mirrored reflective tiles on Amazon that I did in the stitched square format that reflect the room and also have this almost fun house, like antique mirror quality, which I love. And to fill the space underneath, I did a series of decorative boxes that I've been collecting over the years. I have more books than I know what to do with, and the collection is constantly growing. Books about artists, books that are sentimental, books that were gifts. And this apartment didn't really have a good spot for a bookshelf. So when you look around, you'll see basically every surface that can have books on it has little artistic book stacks on it. And this one has, and if I need extra seating, because I have a larger amount of people over, I'm able to take the books off, put them underneath, and then that adds extra seating, which is great. But another favorite thing is this little Cocker Spaniel, which I found at a thrift store that was raising money for stray cats in rural Pennsylvania on the most awful trip. And it was $4. And I loved it because it was the perfect doppelganger for Cody, who is my favorite English Cocker Spaniel best friend. And the first day it came in, it was the funniest thing because Cody was sniffing it and almost kissing it. So I think he recognized that it was the same kind of dog as he is. I definitely wanted a good reading nook in this apartment, kind of a hangout spot, comfortable chair and ottoman, and I ended up going really bold and doing one in my favorite color, which is orange, and having this pillow from Uzbekistan and this Carolina Irving pillow on it to kind of soften it up with this mid-century lamp that has this kind of trendy pleated shade on it that I thought kind of mimicked the bowl that I keep my marble collection in. And above it, this wall has a lot of rectangles. It has rectangular art. It has the TV. It has the fireplace. But this space looked very strange, being completely empty. And so the best solution ended up being a wall of plates, which is not something I do often. And these plates, most of them are from a set called the Hybrid series by Saletti. And I was so obsessed with the way they mixed Eastern and Western pottery traditions and these kind of spliced designs. But they're the kinds of plates that I wouldn't really want to eat on. I would never want to set a table with them, and they were just perfect for the wall, but there wasn't quite enough from the whole set to fill the area what I wanted. So I found this plate when I was at my friend Amy's wedding in Florida. It was just a one-off, a whole set wasn't available, which is great, because a whole set of it would be a little too Beauty and the Beast for me to set a table with, but I just loved the playful French details. And that plate is from Francis Ford Coppola, and the one on the top is a very classic Blue Willow pattern, and it almost looks as though it could be spliced in half to make one of the plates from the Saletti set. And you can see I have places for candlesticks everywhere, because when I do entertain, I think lighting candles is so wonderful. And I love these little matches also. They're too pretty to light, almost. But a client gave these to me, and I thought this was a nice way to display them, having them tucked in. When I set up the chair, having like a big thing of orange I felt was kind of overwhelming, a big block. So I ended up breaking it up with this embroidered shawl from my great-grandma, and I love the way it adds softness and puts it in a place of honor versus sitting in a drawer. And because it's black, it feels so crisp and contemporary to me, even though it's very old. I'm always rotating out the book that I have in this spot, but it's great. I love this chair. It's definitely my favorite seating place in the apartment. One thing I would say about being in a smaller space is you need to really prioritize having your favorite things and the things that are most important to you to meet your lifestyle requirements, whether that is you work from home, if you like to have people over for dinner, and really build the layout around those occasions. So there's no substitute for having a really good floor plan when you get started of where things will go. Another thing that I love for storage is having skirted sofas, because I think skirted sofas can often win you a little bit of space underneath and also under bed storage. This apartment, I was very lucky in that it honestly had more storage than I needed almost. It had 3 walk-in closets, which is a big reason why I took the apartment. I think what you see in my apartment is that I am a hunter for interesting things, first and foremost, and then find places to fit them in and build the room around those pieces and ways to display them, I would say. Now that we've gone through my kind of fireplace and my reading nook, this is the main seating area of the apartment that you see when you walk in. I ended up going with a white skirted slip-covered sofa because of Cody, because it can go in the wash, but also because it allows me to be constantly rotating and show a really fun mix of pillows, because I like all of these fabrics individually, but they weren't something that I would have wanted to do a set of 2 in. I generally don't love things to be too matchy-matchy, I'd say. And so this pillow with the dragon is from Daydar. This was a gift from my friend Lucy, and it's an old Killam rug that was chopped up. This one's from Schumacher. This is a Nisha Crossland pillow, and this is a vintage sari from India that I think really grounds the room to have on the back of the sofa. And then this pillow is the same fabric as the reading chair to add some continuity to the space. And then the 2 side tables are both antique English. One's from the 1820s and one's from the 1840s, and just love the little inlay in them and how they give me a space to display some of my favorite objects. I found this in the trash, actually, and it's kind of this bedazzled old bottle that was just the prettiest thing. And I was with a friend at the time who is very germophobic, and we were headed to his apartment. And so he actually made me leave it outside the door while we were hanging out, but I wasn't gonna leave it behind. I just thought it was the coolest thing. And I try to have a mix of crafty things and really modern objects. And these lamps are from Orifors from the 1950s by Carl Fagerland, and I ended up swapping in this white linen that kind of got lost in the room and I don't think did them justice. And I love how the pink and the orange and the red tie together a lot of colors that are present throughout the apartment. This is a tortoise shell that I thought almost looks like art. I bought it from an antique dealer who was closing his doors, he was retiring, and I just loved it. And it was the perfect size, and when I do a gallery wall, I love to have some three-dimensional elements to give it some more interest than just a sea of flat things. And so the first things I hung were this textile, it's a painting on fabric that my mom gave me. I had this framed, I had that, and then the other three pieces took a little more time. So for a good bit, this gallery wall was incomplete. But I loved how this piece almost looks like a blown up Indian miniature in a lot of ways, but it has cherubs in it and some things you don't usually see in art of that genre. And then this is a Hiroshi Sugimoto photograph. I spent a lot of time doing photography in high school, so you'll see a lot of that throughout the apartment. And then this is a collage by Mary Ellen Horty that I love collage and decoupage, and it adds a nice mix of media. Here you get photography, you get photography from a very different era. This is from a series a German photographer who went to Mexico in the 1920s did. And you see this incredible cactus that is just out of this world. And the scale is so dwarfed by those little horses. Then I have this, I have that. And they're all from different time periods, and they all have a very different soul. And so, but I think they go together well. And they helped fill out the space, because I wouldn't have wanted just this large piece over the sofa. Yeah, then here you'll see this is where Cody's bowl is. I'm always looking for little pretty china pieces that he can use to eat his food out of, because I think most dog bowls are just butt ugly and drive me crazy. And I get them cheaply enough that if they break, I don't really care. And then there's another 5 waiting in the wings. It's honestly enables my hoarding, and I'm very okay with it. This candelabra is covered in these little votives that are wrapped in East African fabrics, and I bought them from this not-for-profit in Tel Aviv that gives work to East African migrants and allows them to celebrate the craft from where they came. And I love the way it fills the space underneath the coffee table. This is the book that everyone opens and looks at when they come into an apartment. I'm like a diehard Kardashian fan. I've watched the show from the beginning, and it's a compilation of all of her selfies up to this point. And like clockwork, whenever someone comes over who hasn't been to my apartment before, they notice it and they want to flip through it. Even if I bury it, like it doesn't need to be prominently on a table, it still is always a kind of topic of conversation. And this candle sits on a bird's nest that I found in the fall in my grandma's garden, and it's very special to me because she passed away 2 months ago, and I always think of her and her gardens, which were very important to her, when I see that piece. Yeah, and there's also a kind of funny accidental Kardashian reference in this chair, because I bought this chair. It was so ugly, but I thought it had potential. It kind of reminded me of a grotto chair, but a little less glitzy and absurd, and it was super comfortable. So I bought it. I took a leap of faith. It was upholstered in this burgundy, strange, furry fabric, and I had it recovered, and then it arrived. And then 2 months later, Kim Kardashian did a Skims shoot sitting in basically the exact same chair, painted white. So that's kind of a fun chair. I like how it really balances out the chair on the other side, which is very different, because this is a mid-century chair that I had covered in this leopard with these satin buttons, and then I added bouillon fringe too, because I love using bouillon fringe on more modern silhouettes. My coffee table was another find that presented itself to me from the garbage. In my last apartment, I had the most beautiful coffee table. It was a French Directoire table. It fit the space perfectly, but it was so flimsy and uninviting that no one would put their feet on it. It constantly needed Windexing, and no one would put their glasses on it. And so this time, my one requirement was I wanted a table that felt indestructible, beaten up, that no one would feel bad about putting their feet on. And this presented itself to me right outside the door of a client meeting downtown. And I ended up taking it home in an Uber immediately. And I love the scale of it and how it's kind of early American inspired, but it also looks a little bit Indian at the same time, and so it kind of fits all the bohemian touches in the apartment. And it's a great place for me to display my latest favorite art books, interesting little dishes that I find, trinkets people give me. And then I have this fun chess set, which also lately, I only added that recently. And I find that people who did like chess camp or chess things growing up always want to play it when they come over, which is really fun. Kind of a funky touch to the apartment. So I've always been really passionate about interior design. Even as a kid, I used to read all the shelter magazines in the aisle at Barnes & Noble and love going to estate sales and antique stores with my parents and grandparents. So I loved material culture, and I didn't really know how to make a career out of that, honestly. In high school and in college, I did little decoration jobs on the side, and I would sell art and antiques for extra money. But again, I didn't really see it as a job. I mean, I considered going the shelter magazine route and becoming an editor, but when I graduated from college, that world was kind of imploding, it felt, and it wasn't a great time. So I went into corporate America, and I was a management consultant. And I was on 2 projects that were in the home industry that I really loved. And that made me realize that I could be at this intersection of home retail and business that I really loved. And it led me to joining Schumacher, the iconic fabric and wallpaper house, where I worked for several years. And on the side, I was continuing to interior design. And when the pandemic hit, my business completely exploded. And I had this also reflection that this was the work I really wanted to be doing when the world was locked down. And I was so excited about waking up to decorate. And so I went down that path and did it for several years, and that's where I am now. Right now, I'm an interior designer, and I'm also part of the team at Palazzo, which is an awesome startup that allows homeowners and interior designers to use AI to visualize and experiment with changes in their space. I love tableware. I am like an unapologetic hoarder of tableware. The oven's full of it. The spot above the kitchen cabinets is full of it. There's stuff under the sofa, like you name it, I see it, I want it. And so I love setting the table and cooking for people. I don't get to cook enough, I'd say, just with how busy I am, but when I get the opportunity to, or I'll even set the table if I order Chinese food just for myself. And this dining area, there wasn't a spot to put an overhead light because I already had an overhead light in the middle of the room. And so I ended up finding this extra tall old floor lamp, which was actually another garbage find, funny enough. I found the shade and the lamp a week apart in the neighborhood in the trash. And this lamp, I was actually on the way to dinner, and I was late to that dinner when I found it. So I actually hid it behind the bush of a building on Park Avenue, off Park Avenue, hoping that it would be waiting for me when I got home from dinner. And I think I got home from that dinner around like 2 a.m. and I was thinking about it all night. And I was so happy when it was waiting for me behind that bush still. And I like how it feels like overhead lighting on the table. But this is the one spot where I always have flowers, like clockwork. Always have flowers, these plates, and I have them paired with these French wine glasses that have this polka dot pattern that kind of mimics these Mexican hand-blown ones that I love for water, and then some silver plate and this fun fish service. So really pretty. I just set the table to show you guys. And then these votives are a recent purchase. I just bought these at H&M Home in Paris, but it's a way to get some candlelight on the table and create the mood, I think. Yeah, and then these two, I have the stack of pieces above it. I think I mentioned that I try to vary within any one project the ways that I display art. So one way is a single statement piece, as you'll see later. Another is two statement pieces paired, like artfully. The other is salon style, which you'll see in my bedroom, a grid, the way you see over my reading nook, and a more curated gallery, the way I have over my sofa. But this piece is by Claude Viola. It's a collaboration he did with Hermes Framed. And I love how it carries the orange that's really all over the apartment. And then this photograph is by Doug Aitken. And it's kind of eerie, but I love it. Well, I had it in my first apartment out of college, and my friend thought it was so creepy. That was the word she used to describe it. But something about the distortion of the angle, like you can't tell, you don't realize this is the sign at first. You're kind of, there's this mysterious unknown in the alley, and it almost doesn't look real. And then the reflection, I love that work. It's one of my favorite things I have, I'd say, in the apartment. So I was a British history major in college. So that's why I think there's a lot of English furniture here, and I have a soft spot for it. My parents also had a lot. And these dining chairs I bought from a dealer in Savannah who I've worked with for years. And they felt very Downton Abbey to me. And I just loved the acanthus leaf detail and the original linen velvet on the chairs. And they were a set of 5. They are now a set of 4 because I had a Christmas party 2 years ago where someone was sitting on the chair and collapsed into it, which was quite funny, but also scary to watch. So I had all the chairs reinforced after. But if they've made it like 200 years now, I think that it was high time for them to finally be reinforced. I think they had a pretty good run, and I love them. This painting was a relatively recent purchase, and I was actually on an art buying moratorium, which I have to do periodically. But I saw it and I just couldn't say no. It's by a Chicago artist named Yvette Mayorga. She's really popping off right now and making great strides in her career, even though she is very early. Her mom worked as a cake decorator at grocery stores. And so that gave her this artistic language that she wanted to apply to fine contemporary art and really celebrate the struggle of these workers who, many of whom cross into the country illegally and work in service industries. And what she did is she went deep into the canon of art history and found vases and vessels at Versailles and recreated them in this pasty cake decoration, but she uses that language to make a lot of commentary on Gen Z and femininity and generational differences in general. So you see the Hello Kitty, you see the little car, but you also see the tears and some of the struggles. And I just love the piece. And it's such a conversation starter and a really joyful contemporary thing. And it's the first piece you see, really, when you walk through the door. Dog is the most important thing to bring a home to life. So if you have the opportunity to bring a beautiful English Cocker Spaniel into your life, that's the best recommendation I have to make a house into a home. I would also say personal touches are really key. That could be books, it could be objects from people's family. I believe those are so key to making a home not look like a showroom and not look like a store. I also think it's really important to not get everything from your home in the same place and incorporate things that are vintage and antique, because those add a sense of depth to a room. And in the history of design, we've been through so many cycles at this point that there is something vintage and antique for everyone's personal style. Another thing I would say that really brings a home to life is having natural and living things. I always try to have cut flowers, even if they're just a single arrangement from Bodega or Trader Joe's. That and a houseplant adds so much to a space. I definitely am not a hardcore plant dad. I actually kill everything within a few months and just replace them, but those add a lot of life and joy to an apartment, I find, and any home. to my kitchen, which is open to my living room. It works out really well because if people are over, I can cook and they can still talk to me, and I can also still watch the TV when I'm cooking. But my kitchen also functions as the entry to the apartment, so I wanted to do the best I could to spruce up the rental kitchen that I inherited from the previous tenant. So the cabinets were this hideous birch color that felt very dated, and it drove me completely insane until I had this idea to have them wrapped in this black wood contact paper and then add these vintage brass pulls. And I think they make the smaller kitchen feel more like a bar and less like a small kitchen. And I love how the very first thing you see when you walk in is the bar, which for most people would not be a functional place. But for me, this is honestly the perfect height to reach for my Cointreau, the things I use most. And it's really welcoming. You know when you're going to walk through the front door, if that's the first thing you see, you know you're going to have a good time. So that's my bar. I use my oven somewhat. However, it does heat the place up a lot, so I'm more of a stove guy. This bowl is from my grandma. It used to actually be in their kitchen over the stove. And when she gave it to me, I started using it for my fruit and produce. And it's really nice green thing to see when you walk in. And you can see Cody's. A friend gave me this mouse pad of Cody, and you can see him on the fridge. I try not to let the fridge become full-on mom fridge with a million things, which is why I don't let myself have many magnets and clips. But sometimes things do pile up. But you can see I used all the space above also for some of my favorite cookware and pitchers and really easy to access things. I love my Euro machine. I am a huge coffee drinker and I can't imagine my kitchen without it. I'm completely addicted and it is the most important thing in this whole kitchen. But this kitchen, for I guess it's small, so maybe this isn't surprising, only has one drawer. And that presented this problem of where to put my silverware, which I also have a lot of because it's the cousin of tableware. And so I ended up storing them on the counter in these cups that are from this old Missoni collaboration with Target. And I think they're very fun. And then I also, because of the drawer issue, end up keeping all of my wooden spoons and cooking utensils inside this old glazed salt crock, which is really fun. Herbs on the counter, very easy kitchen. And the apartment had boob lights throughout, these flush mounts that were just terrible. So that was the first thing I changed. You see I did the chandelier in the living room. And then here I did this crystal one that felt very fun. I liked how it was silver because the genre of fixture is usually in brass. And it reminded me a lot of the light fixtures at a hotel my family would go to a lot growing up. So that was really special. When you walk into the kitchen, I have some of my little sort of sentimental things. This little picture my friend Lauren had painted for me, and I just love it. It's such a happy thing to see when I walk in. That's Cody at the beach. And then this little fish is from Hawaii. So it's kind of this happy beach moment right when you walk in the front door. And I love that about it. And the other thing I'll say about the kitchen is this is the other first thing you see when you walk in besides the bar. It's a poster from a music festival in the 60s. And I discovered this, I want to say in 2015. MoMA did a recuration of their permanent collection to really focus on the 60s, where each room was a different year of the 60s. There was 60 or 61, etc. And each year also had spanned different media. So there was a car in the galleries, there was music posters. This poster I saw on that show, and I love Egyptian motifs, and I saw this poster and I just loved it. I sort of assumed, oh, it's in a museum, like there's no way I'll be able to get this. But then I looked it up and there was one available, very reasonably priced. So I bought it immediately after, and it has my favorite color, the orange and the blue, and then the pink, which references Yvette Mayorga and lots of the other things. I know hanging art on doors might seem a little bit crazy, but I was running out of space, and because it's the first thing you see between a bunch of command strips, it's pretty sturdy, and it's a storage closet I don't use that often, so I felt fine about it. I also put art on this door, this painting from Mexico, which also has the same color palette. Like, we keep coming back to the greens, the blues, the pinks, and the oranges, so that's definitely my palette. For hosting people, I don't think it's fun to be like a short order cook. I really don't want to cook for more than 3 people, but I love having people over for kind of hors d'oeuvres and cocktails, and I'll use the dining table and cover it in apps. This becomes the bar, and it's really fun. You can see recently I've been very into making chicken and morels and a lot of French bistro fare. I think because I got the Barefoot in Paris cookbook and was just in Paris in early January. So you can see I have Madeira out and sherry vinegar and olive oil for making salad dressing. The other favorite thing is the butter crock, which is where I keep my butter because I love having it soft at room temperature. And I am diehard. I can't imagine bread with butter, making cheese sandwiches. It's great. My art is the favorite thing about my home. I love that I get to live with it and enjoy it and display it in so many different ways, from arrays to group together to salon style to individual standalone pieces. There's a lot of wall space for a small apartment. Another favorite thing about my apartment is all of the textiles and the mix of different colors and patterns throughout the apartment. One thing about the world of pattern that I love is how much range there is, and I try to celebrate all of it and all of the different ways of making textiles. I have block prints in here, I have silk icots, I have kilims, I have embroideries, I have stripes, I have a zebra hide, and I love that about the apartment because it gives it so much depth. And some of them are pieces from my grandma or gifts from friends, and those are even more special because they have a personal touch in addition to being beautiful and remind me of those people. Right off the kitchen, I have my bathroom, and this was another rental renovation from the landlord that I had to kind of deal with and make the most of. So what I did to break up the sea of white was add in this removable grass cloth paper. I swapped out the light fixture with this fun mid-century one from Belgium, put in one of my glasses, this great block print shower curtain from West Elm's collab with Rode. I keep my soap on an antique plate that I got on Nantucket. I put this French pastel that I just love. And then this needlepoint that my grandma did out of a kit. And it's actually special because she usually didn't finish handicraft projects. She would start them but not finish them. So this is one of the few ones she actually finished. And I think it's very happy and it fits the color palette. And then on the floor, I added this rug from Greece that was the first thing I put down. I think I generally like to do Oriental or Caucasian rugs on the floors of bathrooms. Not super valuable or special ones because there's going to be a lot of moisture, but I think it adds a lot of depth. And I also swapped out the toilet seat for a wood one just to add a little warmth and old-timey charm to the room. And then this folk art portrait that you see reflected in the mirror is really charming. It's a little creepy, but I love the oranges she's holding and her facial expression and the blue frame. Let's head to my bedroom next. Follow me. Welcome to my bedroom. Full of some of my favorite things. It's very cozy, gets amazing light in the morning. My bed is a 4-poster bed, which I think is so cozy and welcoming. I love to do 4-poster and canopy beds whenever I can. And I'm definitely obsessed with bed linens. It's kind of a cousin of being obsessed with tableware, I'd say. So I always, every week, am excited to pick the mix of bed linens that'll go in my bed, and a lot of them are antiques. So these open cut work embroidered ones are from France, from the 19th century, and they're mixed with Matouk and Yves de Lorme-Shams, this pretty blanket from Pendleton, and then this old Suzanne. And I think Suzannes are so graphic, and this beige one doesn't compete with the gallery wall, but it really finishes off the room and makes the bed less of a sea of white in the middle of the room. And these pillows are from a collaboration Etro, the fashion brand, did with Clarence House. And I like how they're kind of a pair. They don't fully match, and they have animals on them, which I love. this is my favorite animal, but I also love monkeys and toucans, and I think they're really special. My bedside tables were actually, I had very limited space, but it was important to me to have a pair of bedside tables. And so I ended up finding these at West Elm that were just the right size. And I replaced the hardware with these kind of chinoiserie ones from Etsy. And I think they really changed it. And so I keep a box to keep my medicine in, usually have a book, a dish, and a plant to add some greenery. But the most important things in this bedroom are, I'd say, the bed and the gallery wall. It's such a nice thing to wake up to and also go to bed to. You see some of my favorite pieces that are really sentimental and things that I've just found, and they all get a place of honor. I love this photo of Jackie Kennedy and Lee Radziwill because my grandma actually met Jackie Kennedy on that trip. So, and that's in her hometown. So that feels very special. This Slim Aarons is Sea Drive, which has been my favorite Slim Aarons forever. And I only found out a few years ago that this woman is a really close family friend, because I'd never seen a label. And when my mom told her, like, that's his laptop screensaver, that's his favorite image, she actually sent me one of the photos for my birthday that year from the original run. So it's really a special piece, and I like this, one of the first one I see when I walk in. This is just a map of the New York City subway that this artist in front of the Guggenheim makes into these faces, and I think it's just so great. I love street art here. This was another street find I bought from someone outside the Whole Foods. Yeah, and then there's a lot of homages to Cocker Spaniels throughout the apartment. So you saw the little Cocker Spaniel figurine. Another one is Carolina Herrera, who's a big style icon of mine, with her childhood Cocker Spaniel. And Carolina walks the reservoir every day, and Cody and I ran into her, and she pet him, and it was very special. This piece with the snake, I found at a flea market in Bangkok, and I actually was taped to the back of a bookshelf of a rare books dealer. And there was something about it just really sucked me in, and I wanted to have it. And so I found a cool frame for it, and it's kind of funny having it next to this other snake that my friend Allegra gave me. I try to have like little connections between photos I put next to each other. Like that's why like you see like the Carolina photo, the Slim Aarons, the Jackie, those all, they're kind of a genre together. The snake is next to a snake. There might be color. Like this painting used to be in my parents' library, and it was always one of my favorites. It has that rusty orange and the red, and kind of reminds me of the gates in Cinderella, but I just love it, and the silver frame. This portrait I found on Cherish, and I thought it was very ambiguous. Like there was something sort of robotic about her, but then there was also something kind of folksy about her and kind of ethnographic, and the color palette was just right. I love textiles. This is I have two pieces, this by her, by this textile artist based in Inwood. This is from a sample of some work she did with Peter Marino for the Chanel store, and then this is just one of her awesome embroidered works. I think her work is so fantastical and like dramatic, and it mixes up the other pieces. The dresser is an English serpentine dresser. It kind of fits with all of the other English furniture in the room. I think the serpentine breaks up some of the boxiness of this room because it is very rectangular, and then there's a bed, and I like this modern sculpture, how it kind of offsets that. And then the print on this lamp references all the other textiles in the room. And this mannequin I love to put hats on. Like for a point this summer, he had the kippah from my best friend's wedding. And I got him on Cherish probably 10 or 12 years ago now. And right now he's wearing this hat that I bought off of a motorcyclist in Vietnam. Usually you see like hats there that are made of this material in like the typical cone shape, but something about this one being a baseball cap really stood out, and it doesn't like fit me. Like it just doesn't. It's not the right shape of my head, doesn't look good, but it does work on him, which is great. So now he gets to wear it. And this tree basically gets replaced every 5 months when I kill the other one, but I like having something green to fill this corner. This Milo Bauman chair has always been one of my favorite designs, but it's never been able to work for spaces that I've needed. And then in this apartment, I finally found a spot for it, I should say. And so I like how it takes this very traditional English Chippendale design, like some of the English furniture that I have, and reinterprets it in a modern way that's mass producible with the chrome. And then I keep this Dransfield and Ross indigo pillow on it to soften it. Kind of a garbage can, just kind of making a little vignette, a place to throw things and finish out the bedroom. And this Picasso poster behind it is so great. It's from a show he did in the late 50s, and I think the figures are so crisp, and I like the typeface on it a lot. And the burled wood frame, which Milo Bauman used a lot, felt very right to be next to it. The last thing in this room I'll show you is above my nightstands, I have these Otago Kunisadas, who was a really prolific Japanese illustrator. And after I bought these and hung them up, I found out he's actually a distant relative of one of my favorite clients. And so that was a very small world thing to realize. And I have 6, so I have 3 on each side of the bed. You have an art problem when you're hanging art behind doors that are closed 95% of the time. But this piece was a gift from a friend. And she found it at a Goodwill in rural Florida, and it has this fascinating story. It was from a gallery in Cairo. It still has the markings in the 1960s, and there's something really great about the water and the lines and the curves, and I love the draping and how exaggerated it is, almost the way you see in El Greco paintings, and the architecture and the landscape, the color. It really filled this spot perfectly. This room has so much going on, I wouldn't have wanted to continue the gallery wall onto the side. And on the floor, I just have a Tuareg mat, which are used by Bedouin tribes in Morocco and Mauritania to cover tents, really. And I think they're really great. This one I bought from Dara Caponegro, who worked with me at Schumacher and is their creative director. And so it's sentimental in that way because she's someone I look up to a lot. To me, home is a place that you're excited to share with the people you care about. And it's about being welcoming and really expressing your personality and telling your story in 3D form.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.